This is your AEW Dynamite Review Sound Off Extra Edition for February 26, 2020 from Kansas City, Missouri. I am the Solomonster. This was the go-home show to AEW Revolution this Saturday night on pay-per-view. And I want to give a special shout-out to everybody joining in the chat right now. People coming on in. People coming on in late into the chat here joining me for tonight's live stream. What's going on, everybody? What is going on? Bob Rouse, Tortoise, Chosen Boy. See a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday night. This is the first of 3 live streams planned for the next 4 days. Tomorrow afternoon, I'll be live again for the Super Showdown review, Sweet Saudi Money 5, Dead or Alive. As soon as that show goes off the air, that's a noon Eastern start for the pay-per-view. Figure probably goes until about 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. And I'll be going live at that point. WWE tweeted out today that The Undertaker was spotted at a market in Saudi Arabia. It's like the build of SummerSlam 94 all over again. Remember that? Remember when people on the street would say they spotted The Undertaker? A crossing guard saw him walking across the street into a park. There were a bunch of firefighters that saw him. Someone spotted him in a deli. Maybe he was there to grab a knish and a marble rye. I don't know what he was shopping for in the market in Saudi Arabia because WWE pulled the old tweet and delete and quickly took it down. Cowards. Then Saturday night I'll be live once again here on YouTube after the AEW Revolution pay-per-view goes off the air. And on the Sunday, Sound Off episode 641 gets pushed out to all those fine streaming platforms that you see there on the bottom of your screen. So that is the schedule of events coming up. Tonight, so you know, when I am done reviewing Dynamite, I am going to be doing Revolution predictions. So you're going to get a double dose of content tonight. So grab a drink, sit back, and enjoy the show. Vote in the poll on Twitter, @Solomonster. What did you think of Dynamite tonight? Let me know in the chat. And then head on over to @Solomonster. Thumbs up, thumbs down. You could also vote in the NXT poll. And let's try to get this video up to 300 likes. Smash that thumbs up. Hit that sub button if you are not subscribed. And of course, Super Chats are open, including some new ones that will be coming up randomly when you donate. And thank you to everybody who does. You'll see your Super Chats popping up on screen throughout the night. And I will take breaks here and there so I can read them because it's the least that I can do. Tony Schiavone, I just wanted to mention this before we get going here. Tony Schiavone was, as you know, taking breaks here and there periodically to do football announcing in Georgia, AAA baseball, big baseball fan. Well, Tony Schiavone is now all in with AEW. He is no longer doing announcing for the Gwinnett Stripers, AAA baseball. He says it was his decision that he made. I don't know if that means he's also given up his spot calling Georgia Bulldogs games. I assume not, since he only mentioned baseball. And I'm sure he loved that job, but now he's making that Khan family money, so you do what you got to do. I say more Tony Schiavone, and tonight was a great example of this. Tonight we got a lot of Tony Schiavone on this show in different segments, and more Tony Schiavone is only a good thing here on this TV show. Thank you to Magician Sapphire for the $10 Russo on a Pole Super Chat. We opened with a 30-minute Iron Man match. We went right to the main event. Pac and Kenny Omega. This was the rubber match of their feud. They came into this knotted up at 1 win apiece. 2 of the very best that AEW has to offer. Young Bucks accompanied Kenny to the ring. No Hangman Page. Conspicuous by his absence. That, of course, is Kenny Omega's Tag Team Championship partner. He was probably at the bar, somewhere in the building, but the Bucks were out there with him. 5 minutes in. Now, of course, as you know, I mean, you don't need me to tell you that the rules, most falls in 30 minutes wins. Pretty self-explanatory. 5 minutes into this match. They're outside on the ramp. Kenny Omega, he catches Pac off the apron with a moonsault. Pac turns it into a tornado DDT on the concrete. This is all in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the match. So we're off to the races between these two. These guys didn't waste any time. Pac follows up with a brutal-looking avalanche brainbuster off the top rope. This thing looked sickening. I thought he was going for a superplex, and on the way down, he turned it into a brainbuster. No cover to follow up by Pac. Shotgun drop kick by Pac off the top rope for a 2 count. Omega goes for a one-winged angel, or as Excalibur will say, a one-winged angel. Pac blocked. Omega hit a deadlift German for a 2 count. V-trigger in the corner. And later on, there's a snapdragon by Omega. They're going back and forth. Pac rolls outside. He's desperate. And Omega goes out after him. Pac grabs a steel chair, hits Kenny with the chair for the DQ. Excalibur made the point, and I couldn't believe this when he said this. I take him at face value. I have no reason to believe that he would be lying about this. But according to Excalibur, that was the first disqualification in the history of AEW. Now, AEW hasn't been around for that long, but we've seen some pay-per-views. We've had a whole ton of Dynamite shows. First DQ was Pac here hitting Kenny in the head with a chair. So they're tied 1-1 after Pac immediately rolls him in. He hits the Black Arrow, gets the pin. And so Kenny's got the 1 DQ win. Pac has a pinfall win. We're all knotted up. We're about midway through. So we got one picture-in-picture commercial break during this match. The only break that they took in the 30-plus minutes of this match. Pac killed this man with a Falcon Arrow off the apron to the floor. And anybody who has ever taken a bump, I mean, I'm not a wrestler. If you're a wrestler, if you've taken a bad bump, you've landed from a great distance. If you've ever, I mean, I've told the story before. I was at a park once. I was swinging on the bars, and I basically took a flat back bump on the floor. I mean, there were mats there, but it's basically concrete. Knocked the wind out of my lungs. Scariest thing, you can't breathe. There's no way this guy didn't get the air knocked out of his lungs. Absolutely looked like it sucked for Kenny Omega to take that move. So the referee, Paul Turner, he's outside checking on Kenny. They call over Dr. Sampson, the doctor who saved Jerry Lawler. That's how I'll always know Dr. Sampson. He's the guy that saved Jerry Lawler's life. Dr. Sampson comes over. He's checking on Kenny. All of a sudden, we see Pac come from out of nowhere with a drop kick. That sends Omega into the referee. That knocks down Paul Turner. So the doctor's checking on Kenny, and then the doctor goes and he's checking on the referee. It's chaos here in the middle of this match. Meanwhile, Pac's setting up a table on the floor. He lays Omega on top of the table. He heads up to the top rope, hits a shooting star press all the way down through the table. When he lands, upon landing with this shooting star press, a piece of the table popped right up and hit Pac right in the face. Didn't cut him open or anything, but it could have been worse. Actually, I thought it was kind of funny, since I could laugh since he didn't get hurt, but it did smack him in the face. So Pac gets back into the ring. Omega barely makes it back in before the 10 count. Pac heads up top for another Black Arrow. Kenny gets the knees up. V-trigger by Omega just wrecks Pac. Hits a Uranage for a near fall. Omega gets him up for the one-winged angel. Pac falls backwards, turns it into a poison rana. These guys are killing each other. So Pac locks him in the brutalizer. They've got about 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in this match. Omega is rolling through. Doesn't matter. He's trying to break free. He can't, no matter what he does. Pac will not let go of the hold. Has him locked in. Clock is ticking down. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bell rings. Pac is pissed. Knocks down Paul Turner. All of a sudden, Justin Roberts, he gets on the microphone and announces, it's WrestleMania 12 all over again, that we are now going to sudden death. Ring the bell. And Aubrey Edwards runs down to a big pop. She's going to be the new referee. Omega hits a ripcord V-trigger. Hits the Kamigoye. Nice little tribute there to his buddy, Kota Ibushi. Pac kicks out. And Omega finally hits the one-winged angel, scores the pin to win the match, 2 falls to 1. And I said this on Twitter, this was New Japan Kenny Omega, right down to having the Bucks in his corner at ringside just like the old days. This was the closest to one of his old New Japan Wars, those old 30, 40-minute matches we've seen him in. He's had matches a lot longer than that. But this was the closest thing, and I'm not counting the match with Moxley, the non-sanctioned match back in November. That was a totally different kind of match. Those guys killed each other, but it was not the sort of match Kenny Omega was having in New Japan, put it that way. This was the closest thing to what I think a lot of people were hoping and expecting to see out of Kenny Omega when he came to AEW. An outstanding car crash of a 30-minute match. And here's the biggest takeaway from this match. It didn't feel like it went 30 minutes. It really didn't. And Jim Ross, at different points in the match, he made mention of this. He said he couldn't believe 10 minutes had gone by. He goes, I can't believe 10 minutes already went by. And he made a similar comment a few minutes later. It really did not feel like a half an hour had gone by. It was the fastest 30-minute match that you will ever see. But also the sign of two people who did a great job, I think, of keeping you occupied, keeping the audience occupied by the action that was going on. I mean, these guys, they never let up. They were killing each other in there, and the match just breezed on by. You weren't waiting for it to be over. When it was over, you couldn't believe that it was already finished. So I thought this was excellent. Kenny Omega, Kenny Omega, I thought that Omega might lose only because Hangman would interfere, it would backfire, but it makes sense. Pac, now he does, but Pac did not even have, at that point, a match announced for the pay-per-view. Kenny Omega is in a championship match. He is one of the feature matches on the pay-per-view this weekend. So it made sense to see him go over here. But this was excellent. This was probably the best Dynamite opener for any Dynamite show going back to day one. I mean, find me a better one. I mean, we've had some pretty cool tag team matches to open the show, but I can't remember a match as great as this one to open an episode of Dynamite. I gotta take a drink here. I was going crazy during this show. I'm losing my voice. I just got started. This is no good. I gotta go live for the next 3 days. I can't be losing my voice. Oh my goodness, I'm losing my voice. Christopher Nyes, thank you for the $5 super chat. He says, good luck against Pac this Saturday. Yeah, but I'm fucked. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm screwed. Grimes, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. And Ryan W. with $5 as well. So I mentioned Tony Schiavone a little while ago. Tony Schiavone, when the match was over, he kind of took his life into his own hands. He tried to get an interview with Pac. I don't know why you would do that. Pac just lost. He's probably not in a very good mood. He tries to interview him. Pac wanted to know if Tony had taken the piss. Now, I already knew that was... I believe it's a British phrase. I've heard it used before. I'm not as familiar with that phrase as some of the people listening probably are. It's probably a common phrase, I think, in the UK. At first, I thought maybe he said he was talking about him taking a piss, like an actual piss. Didn't make any sense to me. But, have you taken the piss? Are you serious? Are you kidding me? Out walked Orange Cassidy, who confronted Pac. He took off his sunglasses, which told you right there that this guy means business. I mean, he's not there to fuck around if he's taking his sunglasses off. Pac nails him. He's not impressed. He stomps the shit out of this guy before being pulled off. I'll have more on this in a little bit. It's not the last time that we would hear about these two guys. Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz of the Inner Circle against the Jurassic Express. Jungle Boy out like a house of fire. Luchasaurus hits a standing moonsault at one point. Marco stunt. He tried to dive. He got caught and thrown into Jungle Boy. And from that point, the heels worked over Marco. They beat him up through the ad break. Santana hit a cannonball in the corner. Springboard double stomp by Sammy Guevara. So Marco gets the hot tag to Jungle Boy. Sammy tries to use the loaded sock. We've seen Santana and Ortiz use this before. They try to use the loaded sock. What's in the loaded sock? Anyone's guess. It could be quarters. It could be baseballs. It could be, who knows? It could be egg yolks. It could be eggs. It could be anything. It could be anything. He tried to use it as a weapon. Darby Allin comes out of the crowd. He grabs the sock away. This distracted Sammy and allowed Jungle Boy to hit a very Rey Mysterio Jr.-esque standing Rana into a pin. So the match on Saturday is Darby against Sammy. Jurassic Express, surprisingly enough, popular as they are not currently scheduled for the show. Now, they may add something at the last minute, but unless I miss something, as of right now, the Jurassic Express not scheduled to be on the pay-per-view this weekend. We got a Cody MJF video package. I thought this was very good. It just, chronicled the entire feud dating back all the way to November when MJF was saying, I'm going to be in Cody's corner for his title match against Chris Jericho. And, when the night is over, a legend will be born. Little did we know, of course, looking back on it, that he was referring to himself when he turned on Cody, and that kick-started the whole feud. So I thought this was very well done. We didn't see either man physically on this show. I didn't think we had to. We've seen what Cody has had to go through week after week with the lashes and the cage match with Wardlow. There really was nothing left unless you wanted to do a contract signing, but we already had a weigh-in in the main event. We didn't need a contract signing. Contract signings are traditionally pointless. We had a contract signing on Monday for a women's Elimination Chamber match. The hell do you need a contract signing for an Elimination Chamber match for? Stupid. This video package was far more effective. We had the Best Friends with Orange Cassidy against the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny in their corner. Now remember what happened the last time Orange Cassidy and the Bunny were in the same place at the same time. She kicked him in the dick. She kicked him in the tangerines. And down went Orange Cassidy. Would history repeat itself? Taz replaced Tony Schiavone on commentary at this point pretty much for the rest of the show. They had Tony doing other things throughout the night, so it's not like he replaced him and we didn't hear from Schiavone at all. Schiavone had other business to tend to. So the heels got heat on Chuck Taylor until Trent got a hot tag. He brawled outside with the Blade. But this is all secondary to what came next. Orange Cassidy and the Bunny climbed into the ring. And they go face to face, and she stops him. He's about to put his hands in his pockets for the big pop, and she stops him. She steals his sunglasses. And the Bunny then tried for another low blow. He blocked it. He also stole her bunny ears. Big pop. Put them on his head. Cassidy then hits a tope through the ropes onto the Butcher. And Trent and Taylor hit the strong zero inside on the Blade for the pin. So Tony Schiavone's in the ring. He's with the Best Friends. He's with freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy to announce, this is a major announcement. Tony Schiavone was in the ring to make maybe the biggest announcement all year, which is that this Saturday night at the pay-per-view, a new match has been signed. It will be Orange Cassidy making his singles debut against the Bastard Pac, one-on-one, after what happened earlier in the show. And Chuck Taylor had a stern warning for Pac. He said that he's in for some trouble on Saturday because this time, Orange Cassidy is going to try. He's actually going to put some effort into this match on Saturday night. Pac's in a lot of trouble. And Cassidy gives Tony Schiavone the unenthusiastic thumbs up. I don't think that Pac is prepared for the violence that awaits him this weekend. I would say if you've got a girlfriend, if you've got a wife, if you've got a sister, if you've got a girl locked up and chained in the basement, whatever the case may be, hide the women, hide the children. You know, that father, that dad who tweeted Shayna Baszler last week, very upset about her salty language on Monday Night Raw. If he's listening, lock your child away. You have been warned. This will be a very TVMA match, I think, that we're going to get this weekend. During the break, Tony Schiavone put on the Orange Cassidy sunglasses, and he gave the thumbs up. So this segment was a total win. And again, I laugh. I do laugh still at the people who... I know some people don't get the whole Orange Cassidy thing, but there are still people who really rag on it. This is why AEW sucks. This Orange Cassidy stuff is an embarrassment. It's been months now. Look at the reactions that this guy gets when he goes out there. I said from day one, I said, you want to have a nice mix, right? You've got... And they're starting now to bring in like bigger guys into the company. So it's not all smaller guys who do flips and dives. You want to have some variety. In terms of the comedy stuff, the peak comedy stuff right now in AEW, it really is Orange Cassidy. I mean, there's very few people on this roster who are more over than he is right now. You can point to Cody, and you can point to a few people like that, Moxley, the Luchasaurus and his team, but fact is, he's one of the more popular acts in the company now. Is he going to make you money? Maybe not. But listen to the crowds when he's out there. Listen to the crowd when they made the announcement that he was going to wrestle Pac this weekend. Tell me that is not one of the more intriguing matches now on this show. We might actually get to see this guy work. Truly work for the first time. People don't realize he can wrestle. He's actually pretty good. We just haven't had a chance to see him yet. I hope that it's not all total comedy this weekend and we actually get to see him show off what he's made of. Maybe he'll shut some of these people up who think he has no business being on this show. Those people are wrong. We had Yuka Sakazaki. Actually, before I get into this next match, let me just shout out some more of the Super Chats here. They are open, and again, thank you for everybody who is sending on the Super Chats in here during the stream. Marcus Metcalf, thank you for the $2. Suave Titan, with $2 of his own, says Nick Jackson and Phoenix was his favorite opener. But tonight wins. Yeah, I actually forgotten about that, but yeah, I think tonight tops that. The infamous GS, what's going on, my friend? $5 from the infamous GS. Raymond the Mountie Medina with the $10 Super Chat, and Brian, thank you for the $2. Appreciate it. Yuka Sakazaki, Big Swole, Shanna, and Hikaru Shida in a 4-way match. I thought this was good. I mean, it got a little too cute for me with all the different, the roll-ups and the reversals. I could have done without that, but we had Sakazaki breaking up a triple test of strength at one point. Like I mentioned, everybody was trading cradles back and forth. Sakazaki hit Shida with a sliding lash. Shida, I have to say, Shida is a beautiful woman. I'm not insulting the other women in this match. I'm just saying, I've had a lot of people tell me that Hikaru Shida is their favorite, and a few weeks ago I forgot to mention her. I was trying to think, like, all right, outside of Riho and a couple of other, like Statlander, who am I missing? Who should be in the title hunt? And everybody in the chat, you all beat up on me. How can you forget about Hikaru Shida? And then I watch her, and she's great, but she's a beautiful woman. And Yuka, I thought Yuka was actually kind of funny in this match. But I think I've been sleeping on Shida a little bit. She really is, she's quite the knockout, I must say. So, Sakazaki hit Shida with a sliding lariat. Shanna hit Swole with the Angel's Wings for a 2 count. And the finish came when Shida slammed Yuka onto Big Swole. Covered both of them, only got a near fall, but then she hit the running knee to Big Swole and got the pin. So Shida picks up the win, and on commentary, they were sort of teasing that Shida will likely meet the winner of the match this weekend between Nyla Rose and Chris Statlander. I think Shida is probably number 2 in the rankings behind Statlander. So that would make sense if that's the case. Jared M. just dropped a $30 Super Chat bomb. Orange Cassidy plus Gary Michael Capetta equals Wrestling Bliss. Thank you, Jared. Thank you very much. The Exalted One. We got a little Dark Order video here. The Exalted One has given the Dark Order their orders. It will be the Dark Order against SCU at Revolution, so that's another match added to the card. And the line to pay attention to here, and I think this is just AEW just trying to fuck with everybody, but they mentioned that they're going to show Christopher Daniels because they've been teasing a lot in the last few weeks about Daniels and making his life hell and going after the people that matter most to him. And they really want you to think that he's going to be revealed as the Exalted One. Who knows? Maybe he will be. Maybe it's not a swerve. Maybe they're making it obvious, and in the end, he'll join the Dark Order. Maybe he'll join the Dark Order, but he's not the Exalted One. But they said that they're going to show Christopher Daniels is obsolete. So now they're just fucking with us. Now they're just fucking with us. And for everybody wondering, hey, could Matt Hardy show up this weekend? I suppose he could, if they don't mind a lawsuit. Because my understanding is that he is not free and clear from his WWE contract until March 1st, which is this Sunday. 1 day off. That's kind of shitty. 1 day off. I don't think he's legally able to show up at the pay-per-view unless, well, this is not going to happen, so it's pointless. I was going to say, if the pay-per-view were to spill over past midnight, technically it would be March 1st. But there's no way they're saving that for the main event. So I don't know how they get around that. I think they're just doing this because they know people are thinking it's Matt Hardy. Maybe it's not. They're just fucking with it. It's kind of smart in a way, but I think that's just AEW, I think, screwing around with us. We had a sit-down interview earlier in the day with the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Hangman Page, talking about their tag team championship match this Saturday. And Matt Jackson is talking about, you guys, you're our best friends, not just in the business, just in life. You know everything about us. You know my wife, my kids. You guys, you're our best friends. And the whole time, Hangman, he's not making eye contact. He's got a beer in his hand. And Matt mentions, well, I see you got a beer in your hand. I wasn't going to say anything, but of course, Hangman Page has a beer in his hand. And Hangman is just he's just very irritated, and every comment is, even Kenny Omega kind of twisted him into a pretzel. Omega was paying him a compliment, and then he took it the wrong way, and, again, just furthering the angle. Nick Jackson at one point tells Adam Page, you were just a jobber in Ring of Honor before the Elite brought you into the fold. So, of course, that didn't help kind of endear him to Hangman. Hangman finished his drink. He says, I'm out of beer. I'm out of here. And he left. So still building tension between him and Omega, him and the Bucks. It's like a powder keg. It's going to explode. It's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. Jacob Donnelly, thank you. $5 super chat. Daniel Carr with the $5 as well. Please call me a shithead to make me feel endeared. Yes. Well, that goes back to Sunday's Sound Off and the SmackDown segment from last week where Lacey Evans was, now that she's a babyface, she tried to explain when she calls people ya nasties. It's a term of endearment, which is bullshit, of course. So I made the comment. I said, hey, I'm going to start calling people shitheads. I'm just telling them that I'm actually paying them a compliment. So thank you to all the shitheads in the chat. Appreciate it. We had we got a couple more here. Jacket sent a super chat in. Thank you to him. We had the weigh-in. This was the main event of the show. We had the weigh-in for the main event at Revolution this Sunday with Chris Jericho and Jon Moxley. They're going to be going at it for the AEW World Championship. Tony Schiavone was in the ring. Tony was quite busy tonight. He was on commentary. He was interviewing Pac, or trying to. He was interviewing the best friends. He was wearing Orange Cassidy's glasses and giving the thumbs up. And now here he is. He's the MC for the main event. Actually, not the MC. He introduced us to the MC. This was one of the more unexpected, cool little moments of the show. And I like this when AEW does this. They have these little callbacks to historical figures, and tonight was no different. Tony introduced to us the Master of Ceremonies for the weigh-in, a very familiar name if you are an old school WCW fan, Gary Michael Capetta. There is a name that I have not heard in years and years and years. He has a very distinctive voice. If you've never heard his ring announcing before, if you're not familiar with him, if you're a young fan or a newer fan, Go look up some old WCW stuff, the late 80s, early to mid 90s. He had a very distinctive voice that you associated with WCW back then. And so here's Tony Schiavone, right? An old school NWA, WCW announcer. And Jim Ross on commentary. You got Jim Ross on commentary. You've got Tony Schiavone in the ring, introducing us to Gary Michael Capetta. And out he comes. Now, his voice is not what it used to be. He was trying, and it kind of came through a little bit as he was introducing Moxley and Jericho. He was trying to sound like the Gary Michael Capetta of old. It didn't quite work, but come on, it's been 25 years. 30 years. I'm just happy he's around. I'm happy he's alive. Think of all the people from that era who aren't even alive anymore. Or all the announcers who smoked all those years and ended up getting lung cancer. Or throat cancer. Gordon Soley and Bobby Heenan and all those people. I was just happy to see him out there looking healthy and happy. So it was cool to see him. So he introduced the two men in the main event. Jericho called Capetta a weird little man. Said with a voice like that, it's no wonder WCW went out of business. Well, that's not very nice. That is not very nice. He also points out that he is the champion, and so Moxley should be going first, not him. And Capetta apologizes, says, you're right. So Moxley takes his clothes off. He weighs in at 234 pounds, the old Bret Hart weight. Bret Hart was 234 pounds for about 10 years, according to WWE, whenever he would be announced. I don't think he ever deviated from that weight. He was very consistent. Amazingly consistent was Bret Hart. Every match, every year, 234 pounds. It's kind of like Hogan for years. He was always 303. Don't ask me how I remember that. I couldn't tell you what happened 2 weeks ago on Monday Night Raw. But I remember Hogan used to be 303 and Bret Hart used to be 234. So then it's Jericho's time. And people make fun of Jericho now. He's got dad bod. He's got a big gut. First of all, for a guy his age, compared to a lot of people probably at that age, he still looks pretty good. But he's taking his time. He's taking each article of clothing off. He's stalling. He's basically stalling. And Moxley just gets sick and tired of waiting for him. He headbutts Jericho in the head, splits him open. Looked hard way. I don't know why Jericho would blade. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And if he did, I didn't see it. So I assume it was just a snug headbutt that connected a little too well. He headbutts Jericho right on the bridge of his nose. Jericho starts bleeding. Dustin Rhodes runs out. He clotheslines Jake Hager out of the ring. Jericho goes after Moxley. It's total pandemonium in the ring. And they cut to Dustin and Hager, who have a match this weekend. They brawl through the crowd. They brawl out into the concourse area by the concessions. And one of the best parts of the whole show, and all credit to JR for this, they are brawling over by the Dippin' Dots. By the way, I've never had Dippin' Dots. I know that might be sacrilegious to some people. Look, I just had Chick-fil-A for the first time in my life this week, which was amazing, by the way. But I've never had Dippin' Dots. Apparently Dippin' Dots are a big deal. And as soon as they brawled over to the Dippin' Dots cart, Jim Ross lost his mind. For God's sakes, he said, stay away from the Dippin' Dots. He had more passion and enthusiasm about this. I haven't heard him this passionate since MJF turned on Cody. He couldn't believe that these guys were brawling over by the Dippin' Dots. He was appalled by this. So then we cut back out into the arena, and Darby Allin runs down to the ring with his skateboard. Sammy Guevara gets a hold of it, though. He uses it on Darby. That's another match this weekend. So it comes down to Jericho and Moxley, and they go at it. Jericho hits a low blow, hits the Judas effect, and then drops Moxley face first, head first, down onto the scale with his own move. He fells him with a paradigm shift, and he stands tall over Moxley, his body, to end the show. So I thought this was another very strong episode of Dynamite. I don't know that I would say the last couple of weeks have been the best episodes they've ever done. This was not the best episode they've ever done, but I thought the last 3 weeks, it's going to be very interesting to see how this pay-per-view does. Because their model is very different from WWE. For years, we've been conditioned that every single month there has to be a pay-per-view. And so far, AEW has resisted that. They've gone with the approach that less is more, and they're going to have one pay-per-view per quarter. So they're going to have about 4 shows a year. They've got Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear, which I'm kind of hoping they change the name because I think that's just a shitty name. They could always add more, but that's it. Those are their 4 big shows each year. And of course, they have the model where you got to pay full price. It's not like $9.99 a month for the shows. But they've taken their time to promote all of these key matches. I think the last 3 weeks of build to this pay-per-view have been as strong as you could possibly ask for. They've been on a roll these last 3 weeks with Dynamite. There were some shows last month that were hit or miss, but the last 3 weeks have been very strong. If this pay-per-view does not do well, if this pay-per-view underperforms, it's not going to be because of lack of effort on their part with the TV show in terms of really promoting this show. It'll be kind of, I would think it would be very disheartening for them if this pay-per-view did not perform well, because they've really hammered home these key matches. Cody and MJF, they've built this up for months. Moxley and Jericho, their 2 biggest stars, are in the main event for their world title. The Hangman Omega stuff with the Bucks, all of this stuff has been promoted now for a very long time. So I'm almost as interested to see buy rate wise how this pay-per-view does as anything else. So let's check out the Twitter poll results so far. Poll only went up not even an hour ago, maybe 45 minutes ago. And the AEW, look, AEW is running away with it right now. Thumbs up, 86%. Thumbs down, 13. Almost 14. 14% thumbs down. So overwhelmingly positive score so far for AEW. NXT, kind of like last week. Overall positive, but not as strong as the AEW show. 64% thumbs up, 35% thumbs down. So AEW is running away with it right now, Twitter-wise. Again, there's the AEW poll. You can still vote. These polls are always open for 48 hours. So if you have not yet voted, chime in, drop me a comment. Let me know what you thought of the show, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, and why. At Solomonster on Twitter. There you see it on your screen. That's my handle. Prince Walker, thank you for the $5 super chat earlier. Big fan of Hikaru Shida, it sounds like. Yukio Rules with the $25 super chat. We had a $30 bomb before. $25 now from Yukio. Thank you very much. And Chris Quillman with the $5 super chat. So thank you to everybody who has donated so far. Again, when we take phone calls and all that stuff costs money. So as we take more calls and replenish our balance, the super chats are always super helpful in terms of covering that cost. Now, I mentioned earlier at the beginning that you were getting a double dose of content tonight. So before we get to the calls, and we will do that later, we'll take a few calls. But before we do that, we move on to phase 2 of tonight's show, because we're not done yet. There's a pay-per-view this weekend, in case you didn't know. And it's called AEW Revolution. And I'm going to run through the card here in just a second. There's actually news before I even get into the Revolution card. There was breaking news today on the AEW side, and I think it's a pretty big story. It's a pretty big acquisition, pretty big get for the company that I think is worth just spending a few minutes on here. Earlier today, AEW announced the signing of Lance Archer to a multi-year deal after spending the last 3 years with New Japan Pro Wrestling. They promoted him tonight. They acknowledged the signing on TV. They promoted him for next week's Dynamite show. I don't recall if they outright said, and let me know in the chat, if he's going to be on the show or they're just going to talk and have more details. Maybe they'll have like a video package for him. I don't know if he'll physically be on the show next week, but they were openly talking about it tonight. He was part of the Killer Elite squad, for those who don't know. Actually, I'll go back even further than that. He was in a few different promotions, right? He's in Impact, I think, but he even spent time in developmental in WWE. He was Vance Archer. It's like Like, people have cracked jokes over the years. If Vince McMahon were to go to another promotion, he'd be Vance McMahon. Well, he was Vance Archer when he was in developmental in WWE. So now he's Lance Archer. He had a lot more success as Lance Archer than he ever did as Vance Archer. But he really hit his stride in New Japan. He had a couple of different runs there. He was there, he left, he came back. He was part of the Killer Elite squad with Davey Boy Smith Jr. When Davey left last summer, pretty much to go full-time in MLW, Archer broke out as a single, and he tore it up, especially in the G1 last summer. He had a short run as the United States champion when Jon Moxley had to vacate the title due to some travel issues. He won the U.S. title, and he had that great Texas death match with Moxley at Wrestle Kingdom just last month. Now, he's a big dude. He's about 6'8". I don't know if that's a worked height. If it is, if he's not legitimately 6'8", he's pretty damn close. I mean, he's got to be every bit of 6'6", 6'7", if he isn't 6'8". But he's also 42 years old. And a lot of people may not know that. You know, he's not just 40, he's 42 years old. So if they're going to do something, like anything big, if they're going to do anything really significant with him, now's the time to do it, because he's not getting any younger. You know, when these big dudes, when they get older, you know, the knees start to go. I don't know if he's had any other injury issues over the years. So I think the time is now. Strike while the iron is hot. That's a big get for AEW. You know, and I know some people were upset they didn't save his signing as a surprise. Why would they spoil it? You know, not everybody needs to be a surprise. And look, if they've got Luke Harper, right, Brody Lee, coming in soon, and it does sound like he's on his way in. It looks like it could be the March 18th episode of Dynamite. They're going to be in his hometown. You know, someone like Harper is more recognizable than Archer is. He's more likely to get a big reaction when he shows up. You know, if the lights go out, the lights come back on, people are going to know who he is. He's coming now, we haven't seen him on WWE television in a while, true, but pretty much. I mean, he's coming right from WWE television. He's been on TV for the last 5 years, 6 years. People know who he is. He's a known commodity to wrestling fans in this country. Matt Hardy, and you know, I mentioned him earlier. His contract is up this Sunday. Where he's going to go is anyone's guess. I mean, my guess, he's going to end up in AEW. I think it would be the best place for him. But now we hear that WWE made one last-ditch offer to him, pitching a role for him in NXT as a way to get him to stay in the company. Now, outside of making him the new general manager, and if Matt Hardy was to replace William Regal as the GM in NXT, then he's dead to me. I will never forgive him. Regal should never be replaced. He is perfect in that role. But I'm just thinking, this whole Matt Hardy NXT thing doesn't even make any sense to me. I mean, you look at the style in NXT and the matches they have, and Matt is broken down, and he is in his mid-40s. But I think he wants to still wrestle. NXT just doesn't seem like a good fit for him. So my hope and my expectation is that he's on his way out. And hopefully he can take his creative juices and let them flow somewhere else. Why not let that be in AEW? So Archer, we'll see. You know, could he be on the pay-per-view this weekend? It's very possible. I have gone back and forth. I have waffled on one of the matches in terms of my predictions, and I'll get to it here now, because he could very well show up on the pay-per-view this Saturday. I mean, he's signed, sealed, and delivered, so who knows? Maybe Lance Archer will show up at Revolution. You know? So let's get into it, and then we'll take some of your calls. You see the number on your screen there. AEW Revolution is this Saturday from Chicago, beginning at 7 Eastern, on pay-per-view, and also on BR Live. And for those of you who may be listening right now, if you're listening outside the country, if you're listening internationally, you can order the pay-per-view through Fight TV outside the U.S. So those are the ways that you can get the show. We have the Dark Order. I don't know which members of the Dark Order it is, but it will be 2 members of the Dark Order taking on Scorpio Sky and Frankie Kazarian of SCU. I'm going with the Dark Order. Whatever they're doing, wherever this is leading them, whatever it's building to, would, you know, not do the Dark Order any favors to lose. So I got them picked to win. I don't know that we're going to get the big reveal for the Exalted one. Obviously, if it was going to be Matt Hardy, I don't think it even could be this Saturday. But even if it's not Matt, I don't know. I feel like they're going to hold off on that a little bit longer. Why blow it this weekend? Why not wait a few more weeks? So Dark Order picks up the win. We've got Darby Allin taking on Sammy Guevara. I think Darby Allin needs to win this. Even tonight, you listen to the pop. When this guy comes out, he's one of the most over guys on that whole roster. He's a big fan favorite right now. So I don't think he ought to be losing to Sammy. I think Darby's my pick to win. We've got Dustin Rhodes seeking revenge against Jake Hager for the broken arm that he caused. I'm picking Hager. This is Hager's in-ring debut in AEW. He has yet to wrestle. He has yet to speak. He has yet to do much of anything other than stand there and just be fucking wallpaper in the background. Him going in there and losing in his first match to 50-year-old Dustin Rhodes, not what I would do with him. So I think he's got to win. We've got the Bastard Pack taking on Orange Cassidy in Orange Cassidy's singles debut. This is going to be a brutal match, people. You've been warned. The violence here will be like nothing you've ever seen before. Unfortunately for Orange Cassidy, I got to go with Pac. Pac lost tonight. Pac's not the sort of guy that needs to be losing to Orange Cassidy. God bless the guy, but Pac's got to win this. We've got Nyla Rose defending her AEW Women's Championship against Chris Statlander. Nyla Rose, my pick to win. Obviously, she just won the title. I don't know why they would take it off her. I don't see that happening. We've got Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defending their AEW Tag Team titles against the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson. This is maybe... I have to give them credit for this. The top 3 matches on this pay-per-view, I don't care what anybody says, these are not easy matches to predict. And if you say they are, you're lying. These are not easy matches to predict. And that's a good thing. I think the fact that they're not easily predictable is good. Because it really could go either way. And I've waffled on this one too a little bit. A couple weeks ago, I had the Bucks pegged easily to win the titles. I figured they're going to do the split. There's going to be a miscommunication between Omega and Hangman. The belts are going to change. I've changed my mind. I'm going with Omega and Hangman to retain their titles. And the reason I'm doing that is because I think you can drag this out a little bit longer. I do think that there will be something that happens, whether it's a miscommunication or whatever. But I think in the end, because they're all supposed to be best friends, right? I think Hangman, we're going to see a more sinister side of him. He's going to go nuts. He's going to do whatever he needs to do. He's going to use a weapon, whatever it is. He's going to shock people. By beating the Young Bucks, he'll take a shortcut. Maybe he'll use a weapon on them. Omega won't approve, but they'll win. They'll retain their titles. I think they're going to drop the belts on Dynamite. I don't think they're going to hold them until the following pay-per-view. I just don't see them losing the titles this weekend. So I'm going with them to retain. Cody gets his match against MJF. Maxwell Jacob Friedman. This match has been built up now for several months. Downstate, I don't know if they mentioned this tonight, but Downstate is going to be performing Cody's Kingdom theme song live. He's getting the Triple H. He truly is the Triple H here of AEW. He will be, well, then again, I've never seen Triple H do a moonsault off the top of the cage. I've never seen Triple H do a moonsault, period, now that I think about it. But he will get the live music treatment with Downstate performing his theme song this weekend. Another match that could go either way. Do you just pay it off? And the long struggle for Cody pays off in victory and he moves on to the next opponent? Or do you give the win to MJF and drag this thing out longer? You can get another pay-per-view match out of this. You can drag this out all the way to Double or Nothing if you want to. And I don't feel comfortable, frankly, beating MJF yet. I'm picking MJF to win. Now, how it happens, Wardlow gets involved, does somebody else get involved? Is there a new face who shows up and that's Cody's next feud? That I'm not sure. But I do think that in the end, MJF is going to find a way to pull out the win, and this is not going to be the end of this feud. You know, people have speculated, what about Arn Anderson? Does Arn Anderson turn on Cody? People think it's inevitable. The Horseman will always turn on a Rhodes. He could have slammed that cage door on Cody's head last week, and he didn't. Maybe he's just biding his time. Maybe he's waiting for the right moment. Maybe the Arn Anderson turn happens on Saturday, and that leads to an MJF win. And then we get to the main event. Chris Jericho defending his AEW World Championship against Jon Moxley. Now you look at the options here. You can have Jericho win, and you can have a rematch at some point. You can have Jericho win and not do a rematch and have somebody... And I thought about this. This is the match I waffled on all day long when I was thinking about... When I heard about the Lance Archer signing, my first thought was Jericho's going to win. Archer is going to cost Moxley the title. They're going to resume their feud from New Japan. They can acknowledge on TV that these two have a history together. And Moxley is going to go off to feud with Archer. You know, Archer owes Moxley one. Moxley beat him for the U.S. title in New Japan just last month. And that's their out. That's how they allowed Jericho to hold on to his title by the skin of his teeth. Lance Archer gets involved in the match. Then I saw what they did in the final segment on Dynamite tonight. You know, with Jericho standing tall, he laid out Moxley, stood over his body, posed with the championship. And I've shifted my mind back to my original prediction. I think Jon Moxley is going to win the championship on Saturday. I'm predicting a Moxley win over Chris Jericho in the main event. And then there's any number of options that you can go. You know, you can go with a Moxley and Jericho rematch at the next pay-per-view. You can do Moxley and Archer. Maybe Archer comes in and he does feud with Moxley. But Moxley wins the title first. Now, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because they have a ranking system and this guy walks in and he's feuding with the champion. They'd have to have him win some big matches on TV in the interim. But they have different options here. You know, and again, there's going to be other faces coming into this company. And I'm not just talking about Brody Lee. There are going to be new faces and some familiar faces coming into AEW in these next few months. How might they factor into this as maybe a future feud for Jon Moxley? Someone like Jericho I can see feuding with a Darby Allin. Darby Allin is a guy who can be a world champion in this company one day. What about Luchasaurus? They're not doing anything with him right now. There's any number of young guys and people on this roster who Jericho can work with that isn't for the championship. So maybe Jericho, you know, moves into a program like that next. But I think I got to go with Moxley. It's just my gut. I got to stick with my original prediction. So that is the card as it is listed right now. But I really do like the fact that those top three matches, they're not easily predictable. And that's one of the things I like about the way they've set these matches up here on this show. Let's take one more look at the polls. See where things are. Well, we got almost 1,500 votes in already for AEW. 86 up, 14 down. NXT lagging behind as usual. 759 votes. 63 up, almost 37 down. Not a great score, but still a thumbs up. So still a thumbs up score for NXT. Brian, thank you for the $5 super chat, my friend. He says, breaking news, New Japan has canceled some of their events due to the coronavirus outbreak. Yes, they have. They've canceled the first 2 weeks' worth of shows. Their anniversary show is canceled, and about half the New Japan Cup is canceled. How is that going to affect the rest of the tournament? I will have a full update on the New Japan cancellations and the latest on the whole coronavirus thing on the podcast this Sunday. I will get into that more on episode 641. It's pretty scary stuff, you know. I mean, you do what you got to do. It sucks. You know, I was looking forward to my man Sonata going all the way in the New Japan Cup. So hopefully they can still find a way to get the tournament in. But keep this in mind, even though they've canceled shows through March 15th, that does not mean that's going to be the end of it. You know, if they get to March 15th and things still aren't contained, if things still are not under control, I mean, they're liable to cancel the entire month. This could bleed over into April. This could turn into a really bad situation for New Japan. But what are you going to do? You know, you got to keep people's safety in mind first. Or you could look at it from a business perspective and say, I don't want my wrestlers to get sick. There's not a whole lot you can do. So this is a really shitty situation for New Japan. But not much that can be done, unfortunately. But thankfully, we don't got any coronavirus around here. At least I hope not. I shouldn't talk. See stories on the news here that in Long Island, about 80 people who just came back from China are being or self-quarantined to make sure that none of them have the coronavirus. So the coronavirus could already be here in New York. That's great. Yeah, that's just what I needed to hear. And I'm supposed to be out there this weekend. Lucky me. Let's go to the calls. Talking AEW tonight. Tonight's show. Revolution this Saturday. Maybe some of you guys have predictions. Want to hear what you guys think as we move on here with this live stream. And shout out to everybody in the chat right now. And everybody who has joined in on the fun tonight. Let's go to 423. You're on the air.
Hey, Solid Monster. This is me, James. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, James. What are you up to tonight?
I just got done watching the AEW countdown. I really enjoyed the countdown to the pay-per-view. AEW is a good show tonight. I enjoyed it, and I think Moxley will win the title Saturday, because I like to see how Moxley is as champion. See if his popularity can still grow as champion, and I think the Cody Rhodes match will be interesting. I just hope the matches do live up to the hype on pay-per-view. You know?
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, Moxley is so over. He doesn't need the championship, and I thought about that too. Moxley is one of these guys that really doesn't need the title to stay over, but you know, as popular as he is, that doesn't mean you shouldn't put the championship on him. I mean, you can only screw the guy over so many times. So. Again, I think he's taking it.
Right.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You can beat him, but at some point he's got to win.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win on Saturday. But any other thoughts on anything you really liked or really hated about the show tonight?
Oh, I liked the Iron Man match. That was good. I like the weighing in, and I do kind of remember. Yeah, I do remember Michael, the announcer from WCW days. I watched WCW, so I remember his voice and everything.
Yeah, he has a very distinctive voice. I can, in my mind, as I even say his name now, I can remember him announcing Vader. And Vader would come out, big Vader. I can't do it. I could do the Butcher and the Blade, but I can't do Gary Michael Capetta. But like, he had that very distinctive voice, and I can hear him, you know, announcing Vader when Vader would come out. So it was cool to see him tonight. Again, he doesn't sound exactly the same, but for God's sakes, it's been 30 years. I mean, you know, no one's going to sound the same after 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Except Tony Schiavone, apparently. Tony Schiavone still sounds like Tony Schiavone.
Oh yeah, yeah, he does, and Jim Ross does too. And I enjoy how they mix, how they get Taz on there to do a little bit of matches, and I like how they mix that up. By the way, I really do.
Yeah, no, that was great. Look, Taz is a good pickup for them. Taz is a very good announcer. And when they want Tony to do in-ring interviews, because he's basically the Mean Gene now of AEW, he's kind of playing that role that Mean Gene used to have on Nitro, then they can just slide Taz. Yeah, I mean, Taz has good chemistry with JR. You just slide him right in there, and he was a good pickup for the company.
Oh, he was. And I also you have a good even solo monster and Todd Delay.
Thank you, my friend. Let's go to 850.
Yo, what's up, Solomonster?
Oh, there we go. It sounded like a droid. I thought I was talking to like an android or something. What's going on?
No, it's the guy with the farting phone from last week.
Ah, the farting phone, yes. Did you get that under control?
Yes.
Good.
So,
some Beano will take care of that.
Cool show of AEW.
Yes. So what?
I gotta say
Go ahead.
that. Go ahead. My bad.
No. Well, let's start with tonight's show. We can talk about Revolution. What was your the highlight of tonight's show to you?
For me, obviously, it would have to be the Iron Man match. I thought that was a really great match. Honestly, I could have went for another 30 minutes, if I'm being honest. That was a really great match. The shooting star press off the turnbuckle through the table, I honestly was surprised that Pac didn't get a cut from the table, hit him in the face.
Yeah, I was shocked. I
kind of would have.
That looked dangerous as all hell, and when I saw that table kind of ricochet back up into his face, I thought he was going to have like a split lip or something. He's lucky he got away easily on that.
Agreed. Honestly, it looked like he didn't get all of it, if I'm being honest. Like, kind of looked like he got maybe a piece of Omega, but, he still obviously made the table break and all that. But I kind of thought, if he would have bled, it would have added to the brawl, because, I don't know, to me, like, you could really feel the intensity in that match, and they just went at it.
Oh yeah,
from the start. And
I gotta say,
agreed with.
Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, as great as Omega is, Pac. The great thing about Pac, first of all, he always has that scowl on his face. He just comes out and looks pissed off at the world, but he's got that. He just has this intensity about him. It kind of reminds me. I mean, in a way, I hate to make the comparison, but wrestling-wise, I think it's a fine comparison to make. He's got that Benoit quality, that intensity about him in everything he does, and every move, whatever it is.
I can see that.
Yeah, like a chop or a suplex or a brain butt, whatever it is, he has a certain intensity about him, and I think that's really what stands out to me more than anything else.
Right. Someone earlier in the chat was saying they thought it was stupid for Omega to win the match. If I'm being honest, I disagree, and I think they were trying to make Omega look strong for the pay-per-view, because I have a feeling that they're going to take the titles off of Omega and what's the other guy's name? Page.
Well,
Hangman Page.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and look, if it doesn't happen this weekend, I think they're going to hold on to them this weekend. But if it doesn't happen this weekend, it's going to happen in the next month or so. It'll happen on TV if it doesn't happen tonight. It's just a matter of what week do they wait for the explosion to happen, or the miscommunication, the miscue, whatever it is. These guys are not going to be tag team champions 3 months from now. It's not going to happen. So
no, and you could tell in the interview as well, like the chemistry is kind of, I don't know, falling off. And I thought it was interesting that Hangman got a little, I guess, perturbed when Omega said that they had found something on accident. Like, he kind of got, I guess you'd say, butthurt about that. And I thought that was interesting. To me, told me, like, yeah, there's going to be an imminent blow-up between them. I did have a question, though.
Sure.
This is only my second week of watching AEW. I wanted to know, what's with the huge pop from the female ref that I don't know her name.
Yes.
But to me, she seems like she's way more over than any of the female talent on the roster.
Yeah. No, she is.
And she's just a ref.
She is. She was a ref very briefly in WWE, well, in NXT. Aubrey Edwards. And I think the first time that we ever saw her on TV, and I didn't even really know about this until I saw somebody posted video on Twitter months ago. But when Daniel Bryan had to retire a few years ago, and he did his retirement speech on Raw, they cut to this woman in the crowd who was, I don't think she was pretending to cry. I think she was genuinely being emotional. And it was her. Because I remember watching that video going, that's Aubrey Edwards. And I don't know if she was already reffing at that point or what she was doing, but she was a ref in NXT for a while. I guess they didn't sign her. She ended up signing with AEW. And Jericho requests her for all of his matches, and he'll work some spots where he gets up in her face and she pushes back. And she's, as you said, she's more over, not even than all of the female talents. She's more over than most of the male talents in the company. So she gets a big reaction whenever she comes out. Some people hate her. Some people love her. She's kind of a polarizing figure. I think she's fine. I mean, she doesn't bother me. I don't know why some people are so bothered by her, but she's one of the most popular people in the company. And now she's co-hosting. They have a new podcast, I guess, an AEW podcast, and she co-hosts with Tony Schiavone.
Last thing, and I'll get off the line because I know you probably got a lot of calls. But I wanted to say with the weigh-in tonight, I thought that was a pretty interesting way of it was kind of a generic kind of what do you call it, contract signing or whatever, and it was kind of something new. And I knew Chris Jericho wasn't going to get on the scale. Just you could tell by how he was stalling and all that, but no one was really paying attention. But I got to say that ring girl, I guess that's what you call it, the one that was standing next to Moxley, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, there was another girl. There was another girl next to, I think, Hager. I think they're probably just ring girls they brought in. Yeah, my attention was sort of diverted to them as well. So you're not the only one.
Last thing, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Jericho is going to retain, and then maybe they'll get the title off him a little bit after that, before the next pay-per-view. I don't see him holding on to it until the next pay-per-view, but I don't know that Moxley's going to beat Jericho at Revolution. And that may just add more to the feud, in my opinion. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, thanks for the call. I just don't see them taking the title off him on TV. I think when the time comes for him to drop the championship, and look, maybe they don't want him to drop it to another WWE guy. Maybe they want to build Jericho up some more and have him drop it to one of their, so-called homegrown talents, somebody, whoever that is. I mean, it could be Darby or Luchasaurus. I mean, who knows? But if that's the case, whoever it is, it's got to be on a pay-per-view. I don't think you can change the title on TV. The tag team titles, I think we'll see change on TV. I think Hangman and Kenny will drop them on Dynamite sometime in March, maybe April. Jericho, if he's going to drop it, it's got to be at a pay-per-view. It's got to be a big deal. So I think it would have to be this weekend, or you wait until Vegas, and you do it Memorial Day weekend. Let's see here. 502. As he races to the phone. 502. 502's gone. I guess he didn't race quick enough. Let's go to the city of brotherly love. 484, you're on the air.
Solomonster, what's going on, man?
Who am I talking to?
Ryan from Reading, Pennsylvania. You remember Reading, that conversation we had a while back?
Oh, the Hill, yes. The Bachman, yes. We talked about that whole thing, yes. I don't know why every time we call it comes up as Philadelphia for some reason. Somebody, the screener at one point must have put Philly in the... I blame Noah for that. He must have put Philly in the description, so every time you call, it says Ryan from Philly.
Who knows?
Anyway, what'd you think of the show?
Yeah. Oh, it's been a great few weeks of AEW wrestling for sure. I mean, the show has been awesome. Dynamite's been great. There's so much to unravel. One question for you, for sure. All the talk about a secondary title. What about a trios title? Because their six-man matches are always really, really good. Like tonight was no exception.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be, because Cody, when he made comments a few weeks ago, he said there is going to be a secondary title, just got to be patient, it's going to be a while, but it's going to be something that's never been done or never been seen before. And we've seen six-man titles, I mean, they have them in Ring of Honor right now. So that tells me it's probably going to be something different. My first thought is maybe it's some kind of intergender tag team title, who knows. But I think it would make sense. I could see that, because they do have a lot of six-man tags. You've got Jurassic Express, you've got the Inner Circle, Best Friends, Dark Order. So, yeah, I could see it, but I would still prefer that it be some kind of singles title for the men. Whatever, if you call it a TV title or come up with some other name for it. I think you got a lot of guys in that middle of the card who are going to need something to fight for. So I would focus more on that first. You could always introduce six-man belts at some point down the line, but I would prefer it to be a singles belt for the men.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just thought, because how good these six-man matches are that they put on, it wouldn't make sense, I think, to add that. But who knows what they'll end up doing for sure. The weigh-in I thought was great. It was a nice change from the whole traditional contract signing thing. Seeing Jericho come out imitating the Gracie clan from the first few UFCs was hilarious. The one thing I'm curious on as well is that will the title change hands or not? Who knows? Jericho retaining, I like the idea of that because I really think ultimately, especially after today with Omega's performance, I really think it's prime for Omega and Jericho 3, whether it's at Double or Nothing or All Out for Omega, I think, to take this title. And I really think, like you said, not putting on another WWE guy, I think, is a big thing. And Omega, get the tag belts off of them and get him focused on what he should be focused on to begin with, and that's singles and being the future champion of AEW. I think that's where they should go. Maybe even get it to All Out. Maybe the 1-year anniversary of Jericho's reign, that's when you take it off him. I don't know if that's too long or not. Just curious what your thoughts are on that one.
No, I mean, you could do that. I mean, I'm not ever going to complain about Jericho being the champion because I think he's very entertaining in the role. I think he's great. I don't want the title off of him. So, yeah, they could go to the 1-year mark. And Kenny, at some point, I think, has to get that win back that he never got over Jericho. So maybe that's the story that they do. Maybe ultimately it's Kenny against Hangman. Hangman Page, the difference between August and now is like night and day. The idea of him winning the world title at some point in the next few months, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the idea of that happening is, to me, I look at that and go, great, yeah, sure, put the title on him. But in August, I didn't see it. That's why I said Jericho's got to be the first champion, because to put the title on Hangman, it just felt too early. And here we are now, 6 months or however many months later, and he's as popular now as he's ever been. They're working this angle. He may end up going heel, and he's much more ready, I think, to be in a role like that. So you can prime him sometime later in the year to become the champion. I think he's got to be in the conversation as well.
And it's going to be so hard to turn Hangman heel with how over he's been lately, too.
It will.
I mean, that's going to be a tough call to do.
Yeah, it will, but I think they can do it. Because Kenny is just as over. People like Kenny Omega. If he does something really dastardly to Kenny, if they do some kind of really hardcore angle, he busts him open and just really, fucks him up in some way, I think they could get the people to turn on him. And he's got to stop drinking.
And you mentioned earlier about the new faces coming in the weeks and months to AEW. You think guys like the Sonny Kisses of the world, who they initially signed, you think they could be in trouble keeping their, I don't want to say keeping their jobs, but definitely getting less and less time even that they already have? Because fitting him on 2 hours now, I mean, that's difficult to begin with, let alone adding all these extra guys. I mean, we're going to assume Brian Cage is coming in. Matt Hardy's also coming in, probably the Revival. How are you going to fit everyone on there? These lesser guys like a Sonny Kiss and a Peter Avalon and a QT Marshall, they're not going to be able to get ring time. So I'm just curious, do you think they'll start cutting bait a little bit, or?
Well, that's a good question. I'm gonna let you go so we can move on. But remember, there's a second show coming. So the announcement was made a number of weeks ago, a couple months ago, whatever it was. AEW is getting a second show. It's likely not going to be, it's not Dark moving to TNT. It sounds like a totally new second show. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to just be first-run matches or if it's going to be a mix of that and highlights. My sense is it's going to be a mix of both. You may have some matches. You may have some interviews and personality profile type stuff. But that should help, I think, in terms of just giving more airtime for them to get some of these other people on the show. A lot of those people, Sonny Kiss is one example. These are people that are relegated to Dark. And look, some of these people are just not going to be featured on Dynamite because they're not big stars. Peter Avalon, he may be a talented guy. He's not a big name. Peter Avalon should not be in main events and big matches on Dynamite. Sonny Kiss, I don't think he fits in anywhere either. Some guys are just going to be at a certain level. But I think once that second show, we don't know when that second show is going to premiere. Once that second show goes live on TNT, that may, open up more airtime to get some more people on the show. So some people may have either not heard the announcement or may have forgotten, but there is another show on the way very soon. Let's go to Rochester 585.
Hey, how you doing, Solomonster?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. This is LC from Rochester.
LC, what's going on?
Not much. I have a couple questions, and just to get your thoughts here.
Sure.
First, is I was talking to somebody at work about Darby Allin, and we are kind of comparing him to Jeff Hardy, and seeing that he can have a very similar rise to Jeff Hardy, like he did in WWE in the late 2000s. Just see if you feel like he's similar to Jeff Hardy as well.
Yeah, no, I see the comparison, absolutely. I mean, Jeff Hardy got hot. The hottest period of Jeff Hardy's career was late 2007 into 2008. And had he not gotten suspended and had his issues, who knows? The sky was the limit for him. But he had his issues. He became popular because he had a certain look, and he had a lot of female fans liked him, like I think they liked Darby as well. But he was a daredevil, so he would do all of these crazy stunts, and he would take these ridiculous bumps. How he didn't cripple himself, I'll never know. But he got over. Not unlike the way Mick Foley got over. How did Mick Foley become popular? Because he beat the hell out of himself. He took these crazy bumps, and, people, it was like watching a car crash. You can't take your eyes off of that. So Jeff Hardy kind of had that appeal. Darby Allin is the same way. The coffin drops and some of the crazy shit that this guy does, the bumps that he takes. It's like he doesn't care. He's willing to put his body on the line. I think people respect him for it. There's something about that character. People like him. He's just got a certain appeal. When he showed up a couple weeks ago and the lights went out and they came on, I mean, that pop that he got, that tells you right there. I mean, he's got mass appeal in this company right now. So yeah, I definitely see the comparison between him and Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, he gives me a lot of the same excitement. I did have a couple questions or a question about the pay-per-view, and where you would go if Chris Jericho was to lose the title. Would you just do a rematch back with him and Mox again, or would you move on from Chris Jericho altogether? If I look at the rankings, they have like Cody Rhodes next, which I know he's not even eligible, so I'm not sure.
That doesn't. They haven't really explained that. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that they have him ranked there because and look, we all know at some point they'll find a way to get him a championship match. He'll be the champion maybe next year or something, but why he's listed in the rankings like that if he can't compete for the title is kind of silly, I guess. But I think you could do the rematch. I'm not big on like the whole automatic rematch thing. That was always a WWE thing. Even WWE now is trying to get away from that. Now I guess it's a UFC thing now. But I would get away from it. I would say that if he loses, they kind of just move on to new opponents. You got to do something fresh, and Jericho can freak out and have a meltdown, and I deserve a rematch, but then he doesn't get it, and he just sort of moves on to whatever that next feud is going to be, and he goes to the back of the line, and he's got to work his way up like everybody else.
All right, here's my last thing, and I'll let you go. I haven't been to a wrestling show since I was like 8 years old. So for me, that's about 20 years ago. So AEW is coming to our local arena in a couple of weeks in March. And I was thinking about going, and just wonder if you had any advice of how to, really enjoy the show.
How to enjoy the show? I mean, there's not much advice to really give. Just you go to the show and just have fun. I mean, geez, you're going to be. Hopefully, the crowd there is loud. It's always helpful to have a loud crowd. You just go and enjoy the matches. It's not any process that you got to go through, for God's sakes. I mean, I think sometimes people overthink these things. Like Raw, for example, is a 3-hour show. I'll get emails from people sometimes. I'm going to Raw. I got tickets to go to Raw. Raw's 3 hours. Oh my God, help me. What am I going to do? First of all, your first mistake is going to Raw. Okay? Because now Raw's been better in recent weeks. It's been better than it was last year. But 3 hours is a long time for a TV show with commercial breaks where nothing happens. So I could almost get. Like, what do I do? How do I survive Monday Night Raw? I got a good answer for you. But as far as Dynamite goes, just go and have fun. Don't overthink it. You don't need advice from me. Just go and have fun. You know, if you're into the characters and you're into the stories and got a hot crowd, you'll have a good time. The 2 hours will pass by like that. I think you'll have fun. I haven't been to Dynamite yet. I was at Double or Nothing in Vegas last year. That was my... technically, I was on the Jericho cruise, so that counts, I guess. But I have not been to any Dynamites myself. But Double or Nothing was a blast. You know, it was Vegas. It was a big pay-per-view, so of course I expected it was going to be a fun show. But you don't need any advice from anybody. Shane Adam Hughes, thank you for the super chat earlier. I did not forget about you. And Ryan W had the $5 disappointed Solomonster super chat. And if you've noticed, we've had some new super chats tonight. Not all of them. A lot of them pop up randomly. There is a funny Sheamus-oriented one I did not see pop up. I don't know if it did and I missed it. I'm hoping somebody, if they donate, it'll pop up, because that's one of my favorites. But anyway, Ryan, thank you for the $5. Says, do you think Big Show will turn heel on his Netflix family? On his Netflix family. Yes, I don't know how many of you saw the Big Show on the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you have not, I would recommend that you do, because it was a very good interview. And he was on Austin's podcast once before on the network. These were different questions that Steve really focused on this time. Big Show is always a good interview. He's just a really smart guy and very well spoken, and I enjoyed it. It was an hour and 20 some odd minutes, and it breezed by. But he talked about his new Netflix show. I don't know when it's coming out. I don't have an air date. I don't know when it debuts. But he's got a comedy coming to Netflix called The Big Show Show. A very original title. The Big Show Show. He's a retired pro wrestler. He's got a wife. He's got, I think, 2 or 3 daughters. They've got cameos on some of the episodes by Mick Foley and Mark Henry. Who was the other one? There's another wrestler who's... oh, God. I don't remember who it was, but he's got some wrestler cameos on the show. I'm very anxious to see this first episode. I just don't know when it actually premieres. Is he going to turn heel? Probably not. Probably not. What's he going to do? He's going to chokeslam his little girl? Child abuse? I don't think so. Brian had a $10 Russo on a pole super chat earlier. Says, AEW booking scenario. Cody Rhodes runs towards MJF to attack him when the referee calls for the bell to ring, but the bell never rings. Cody touches MJF and the match is called off as a no contest. Yeah, I've heard this floated by other people in recent weeks, and that would be the shittiest possible thing they could do. No. That's not what they're going to do. Because, of course, the stipulation is that if Cody touches him before their match... But see, the whole thing is if he touches him before the match, he doesn't get the match. So... Well, I guess that would go to what you just said. The match would be a no contest. Yeah, that would be pretty shitty. That's one way to drive your fans away. So if that's AEW's goal, then by all means, go for it. But I would advise against that. Let's go to... I believe this is Jared, my good friend Jared, area code 516.
What's up, Jason? How you doing, man?
Good. Now, listen, I heard that we've got 83 people who are self quarantined out in Nassau County. I hope that you are not one of these people.
Yeah, bro. Everybody in my office was wearing one of those little masks today.
Oh, jeez.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I know. Well, they should wear like wear a lucha mask or something.
I'll wear my Rey Mysterio since my last name is almost like Mysterio. My dad's actually Jason. My dad's name is Rey Mysterio. So it's
I was just
all my friends make fun of.
Well,
every 4th of July, every 4th of July, Jason, my parents have a party, and even as we got into our 30s, mid-30s, my friends still show up there with their wives or girlfriends or whatever. And, some of my older friends will say, hey, Ray, go get your mask. You're missing your mask. Or you're not allowed to walk around without your mask. I had to feel when Kevin Nash unmasked you. It's like a 30-year ongoing joke.
Well, yeah. When you first sent that to the PayPal in for the first time, and I saw it was MOSTE, was it IRO or whatever, and I was like, is it pronounced as because I just pronounce it as Mysterio?
Yeah, Mysterio.
Okay, so I pronounce it as Mysterio.
Yeah.
I didn't know your father's name was Ray though. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it's funny on Starrcade 1990 when they had the international tournament, the tag team tournament, where the Steiners won against Muda and Saito. Ray Senior was in. His uncle was in that. Like with the guy that's trained Steve Austin appears in Chris
Adams.
That was all the drug problems. Chris Adams, yeah, the super kicks. So yeah, it's just funny. It's an ongoing joke with my friends and family, but my dad still has no idea what I'm talking about. He goes, "You still watch that stupid wrestling?" But whatever. I do not think, Jason. I don't see any reason to take the belt off of Chris Jericho this week. I don't see a reason. Moxley doesn't need it. I think maybe they have one more match after this on cage match and Dynamite, but Lance Archer gets involved. I'd love to see that match. That's a huge signing for them, and and I don't see MJF losing. Why? I mean, I think Revolution is just going to be a continuation of what we see on TV. I don't think we're going to see a lot of surprises. Just in maybe in the Kenny Hangman Bucks match. That's about it. But we know it's coming there.
Yeah, I think you want to have some kind of big angle or some kind of surprise, just because they run so many fewer pay-per-views than we're used to with WWE. So if you only have 4 big shows each year, I feel like something big has to happen. So let's just talk briefly here about the main event. So you think Jericho, there's no reason to take the title off him, so I assume you think he's going to retain. My question then, hold on though. Okay. But my question then is, how do you do it? Because Jon Moxley is one of the most popular guys in the company. He's the babyface. You can't just have Jericho beat him clean 1, 2, 3. So what happens? Does Archer run in? Does somebody show up? Does the Inner Circle get involved? I mean, how do you see it playing out?
Inner Circle, Jeff Cobb, Lance Archer, somebody we're not even thinking of, the Dark Order. I don't know. It could be. I think it'd be a plethora of things. But I just don't think Moxley needs the belt. He's Jon Moxley. He doesn't need the belt. And there's another aspect to this too. Don't forget that he's also wrestling still in New Japan, and he is the U.S. champion in New Japan. So how does it look? Because it looks like his next feud, and now who knows with this coronavirus shit, but it looked, the way things were set up, like he was going to be defending his title against Zack Sabre Jr. next, and that doesn't ring to me like, like a big match for him. So how would it look if he wins the AEW World Title and then he's over in New Japan? Yeah, he's over in New Japan working Zack Sabre for the U.S. belt. Does that reflect poorly on AEW, or does it not matter? I mean, with Moxley, he's over like Rover. He's white hot. I mean, I'm not saying he's Austin 99 white hot or Rock 2000 white hot, but I mean, he's the biggest grab they got from WWE. And in my opinion, I just don't think he needs a belt. That's just my view. Okay. Maybe other people see it differently. But also thing I wanted to say, Jason, was, people that never saw Orange Cassidy wrestle on the Indies and not do it just joking around, and if he's going to really wrestle Pac, I mean, they're in for a hell of a fight there. That's probably the match of the night there. Orange Cassidy can go.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of his work on the indie scene. The only question is he going to show that or not, or is he going to play the whole comedy gimmick up? That's the only question.
I think he'll play the comedy thing until something serious happens. Pop a fist him off or something, and I think he'll go. He'll go that way. And I just gotta ask you one more thing. Where do you still think this Bucks Elite thing, Kenny and Hangman has legs, or you think they're just going to end it and have Kenny and Adam go at it?
No, I think it has legs. I think that's why I say I think they retain this weekend, and then the blow up happens a few more. You save it for a few more weeks. Maybe change the title on TV. On an episode of Dynamite. Doesn't have to be on the pay-per-view. I think you could get more mileage out of it. So I think it's almost too obvious to me that something's going to happen on Saturday. The Bucks are going to get the belts. You can hold off on that for a little while longer.
Okay, and you do not think Raven as any part of the Dark Order, right?
No. Well, I can't be. Right? I saw him last week. I didn't even realize at first that it was him. I know that Raven I know that Raven is a good talker. I mean, I haven't heard him cut a promo in years, so who knows? But I don't care how good of a talker I have absolutely no interest in Raven being the big reveal as the Exalted One. That would be very disappointing to me. And look, I know Matt Hardy is not exactly a young guy or anything like that, so if he's the Exalted One. But my hope is this. Here's the thing about Matt Hardy. I'm not all of a sudden some big Matt Hardy's biggest fan. I run the Matt Hardy fan club. Here's the thing. Matt Hardy clearly still wants to use that broken character. He clearly does not feel like WWE ever gave him the chance to really run with it. I loved it when he did it in Impact. I loved the stuff at the compound and the final deletion. I loved it. I loved all of that stuff. And so my hope is that if he is chosen for this role, or whatever role, if they bring him in, I'm not interested in AEW signing Matt Hardy just as Matt Hardy and letting him go out there every week on TV. The guy can barely walk. What I'm interested in is him, whether he comes up with a totally new wacky character or if he reverts back to the broken stuff. That's the kind of thing I want to see him doing on TV.
Okay. And Jason, just one more thing. I'm sorry. One more thing.
It's a lot of one more thing, but go ahead.
One more thing. I'll shut my mouth after this. I know the SmackDown side of WrestleMania is all messed up. According to Meltzer, it's all messed up now. Now, you really think Goldberg's going to beat The Fiend on Thursday? I mean, come on. I mean, you really
Well, if you listen to my predictions, my predictions were that The Fiend is going to win. So, no, I don't believe Goldberg is going to win.
Okay, but what do you think about all this talk?
I think it's just talk. I think
it's just talk.
It could look. If they want to do Goldberg and Roman Reigns, then Goldberg's going to win. But I think that would be fucking stupid. So I think that in the end they'll do the right thing. I think the Fiend is going to win.
I just think Cena and Elias. What a waste! What a waste! You get the guy once or twice a year, maybe tops. What a waste!
Well, I mean, it's. I don't know if you listen to the show on Sunday, but it sounds like that plan's out the window. Yeah, so that plan sounds like it's out the window. I don't know what the new plan is for Cena. It could be Cena and the Fiend. We'll find out. He's going to be on TV this Friday, so we only have to wait another 48 hours or so to find out what John Cena is probably going to be doing at WrestleMania. I'm going to let you go now, though. But thank you for the call, as always, my friend. Always good to hear from you, Mr. Mysterio. From Long Island. But yeah, no, look, if Goldberg beats The Fiend, if Goldberg walks into Saudi Arabia tomorrow night, not even tomorrow night, tomorrow, I should say, because we're way less than 24 hours, we're 12 hours away from Super Showdown. And then I'm going to be going live here on YouTube when the show is over. If Goldberg goes in there and he just beats The Fiend in 2 minutes, you are going to hear the mother of all blow-ups here on YouTube. It will be very entertaining. You will want to tune in live here on this channel tomorrow because I will have much to say. If after all these months of building up The Fiend and this character and the vignettes and all the effort and the creativity that went into it, for him to walk in there and get squashed by Goldberg just so they could do Goldberg and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Trust me, you will want to hear this live stream tomorrow afternoon. I don't believe that they're going to do that. But if they do, it could be Hell in a Cell all over again. I had 4,000 people listening to me live. I was losing my mind with that main event at Hell in a Cell back in October. It could be Hell in a Cell all over again tomorrow if they pull that shit. I don't think they will, though. I think they'll do the right thing. But then again, I've been burned before when I've said that, so who knows? Let's see here. 724. You're on the air.
Hey, what up, Solo? It's Jay from Pittsburgh. First-time caller, brother.
Hey, Jay. Good to hear from you.
So, first and foremost, I'm on a bit of delay, but just finished listening to or watching the hype doc they did on TNT for Revolution, and just wanted to give a shout-out to those kids. They were doing a bang-up job. Just top-notch production value to try and bring in a larger audience, and nothing but respect for AEW in general for pulling things off like that, and for TNT for allowing them to drop an hour special on their network. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. When they announced that it was going to be airing right after, I was kind of bummed because I knew I was going live. But a lot of that stuff that they've done, like on YouTube and some of the pre-pay-per-view specials that they've done before, because this isn't the first time TNT has aired one of these. They're very well done. I mean, we talk a lot about WWE's production team, and that's one thing that's always been consistent over the years. These packages they put together or documentaries for the network, they're tremendous. But AEW deserves a lot of credit too, because they put together some really good videos and video packages to help hype up their big matches. And so from what you're saying, it sounds like the one tonight was just as good.
HBO, Showtime, Boxing Caliber, they do those vignettes leading into the large fights. It is every bit as compelling. The voiceovers, the editing, fantastic. What I was calling, though, for was end of AEW Dynamite, kind of to piggyback on a previous caller's comments. Darby Allin came rolling out to the ring, and I find myself more often than not popping for this son of a bitch like no other. And look, I'm an old head. I've been around for a long time, but this kid has something. And I'm just curious to hear what your thoughts are on, like, what is the ceiling for him, given his age, given his build, his weight, et cetera, where he's at in his career. What do you feel the ceiling is for this kid? And I'm going to sit back and let you speak on this.
I think for him, the sky's the limit. He is a smaller guy. That's going to work against him to some degree. Maybe less so in AEW than it would in like a WWE, because he's not a big, physically imposing guy. But there's just something about him. He's like, it's weird. It's like he's this brooding, like, dark personality. He's got the face paint. In the chat before, somebody said, when I was making a comparison I saw between Darby and Jeff Hardy, I was agreeing with somebody who said that they see similarities between them, and I agreed. I saw somebody in the chat, I don't know who it was, make the comment, no, Darby is Darby. Jeff is Jeff and Darby is Darby. I'm not saying that the two are identical. They are two different personalities. But you can't deny that there are similarities between the two of them. They both wear the face paint. They both put their bodies through abuse that they should not put their bodies through. They take these ridiculous, crazy bumps and they do these crazy stunts. Darby has shown the video on his social media of some skateboard stunt that he got hurt on when he was younger many years ago. Jeff, of course, was on the motorbike and broke his leg years ago doing that stuff, or whatever it was. Dirt bike, motorbike, I forgot what it was. But you can't deny that there are similarities there and their popularity. It's probably a lot of young teenage girls who are into them, but there's also, a lot of male fans who are into him as well. He's got a base of fans that really just like him and really support him. So I could see Darby Allin challenging for the AEW Championship one day, and I think as far as his ceiling, he could be the world champion. I don't see any reason why Darby Allin can't have the AEW title at some point. It might not be this year. But could I see him as the AEW champion? Yeah, I can. Absolutely. I think he would be the beneficiary of introducing a mid-card title. He's one of those guys who I think would benefit from that. But could he be the world champion one day? Sure. He's naturally over. He's not even being pushed that much, and look how over he is. He's in a mid-card match against Sammy Guevara on Saturday. Listen to the reactions when he comes out. Sky's the limit. As far as Darby goes. Let's go to 515.
Jason.
Yes, sir.
Hey, it's Billy from Des Moines. How you doing, bro?
Hey, Billy. Billy was at the show tonight and said that he might be calling in. And so my first question to Billy, what did you think of tonight's show? You were there live, so what was the live experience like?
Hey, first of all, thanks so much for taking my call, and thanks so much for all the great work you do, man. I love your content.
Thank you.
But yeah, dude, obviously the show was great. Number one on the list with a bullet is Omega Pac. I've been waiting for that from Omega since his NJPW days. That dude is over like crazy. Number two, got to be Gary Michael Capetta, right?
Yeah, I love seeing him. His voice is not exactly what it used to be, but I was telling people it's been like 30 years, so you can't expect him to sound exactly the same. But on TV, when they showed him up close, he looked like he was happy as a pig in shit just to be there. I think it was cool to see him.
Yeah, dude, I popped and he came out. I'd say about a third of the crowd probably knew who he was. A lot of people I don't think had a clue, but that was great. Yeah, and there was a guy that called earlier and was talking about possibly going to a show in a couple of weeks. Couldn't recommend it more. You know, the show flew by. Justin Roberts, the announcer, does a good job keeping the crowd into it. There's always stuff going on, you know, during the commercial breaks. So it was just a great show, great time. The crowd was pretty live. Did it come across on TV?
Yeah, the crowd was hot. I was saying they really got lucky these last few weeks. I mean, the shows themselves have been very good, but they've really gone to these cities, and the crowds have really been up. They've been into almost everything on the show. Even the women's match tonight, it sounded like, at least for some of the, when they had the trading cradles and all that, the people seemed to be pretty loud for it.
They were. I would say one thing that surprised me is the amount of kids that were there. I thought it'd be a lot of guys like you and me, but there were quite a few kids in the crowd, which is pretty cool to see. And, you know, that didn't stop, you know, some of the chants, but, you know, who cares? Everybody's there for fun.
Cool. I mean, anything else you want to talk about from tonight or even the pay-per-view on Saturday?
Yeah, just the one thing I was going to say, you know, that I really love about AEW is, you know, yeah, it kind of sucks when you can see Cody in person or MJF or, you know, the Lucha Bros, but I think that's what makes the show great. It's kind of like NXT back in the day, you know, when you wouldn't get to see all the stars every week, and, you know, we got to see Omega have just a classic, you know, got to see all the Orange Cassidy stuff, and then, of course, Jericho and Moxley at the end, and I couldn't speak more highly of what they're doing right now, but I'm with you. I think you said that you think Jericho's going to retain. I think he should. I think Jericho's just been awesome as champ. So that's all I got, man. Thanks a lot for taking my call.
Thank you for calling. Billy, he was at the show tonight. Always good to get the live perspective. And every call that I've gotten in the last few weeks from people who have been at the shows, they've been pretty consistent. Everybody who goes has a good time. So again, that person who called in earlier who's going in a few weeks, dude, just go and have fun. You know, that's even if you're going to a WWE show. It's not just AEW. Just go and have fun. Otherwise, don't waste your money. You can watch it at home on TV. But if you've never been to a show before, you should absolutely go. I mean, I've been to so many shows, to me, it's not even a big deal anymore. But if you've never been, you got to go at least once. Let's see here. We got a whole bunch of calls left, and we'll get to a few more, and then we'll wrap up. This is the first, again, of 3 live streams coming your way in the next 4 days, including tomorrow afternoon. I'll be back here again live. Actually, before I get to the next call, I got to make sure I don't forget these additional Super Chats here. Brian had a $7.99 Super Chat that he dropped a few minutes ago, and mentioned that watching Moxley and Archer, their match in New Japan, felt like watching Wolverine, who would be Moxley, fighting Sabretooth, who would be Archer. Yeah, that Texas death match they had at Wrestle Kingdom was awesome. So, I don't know if they're going to take their time and build Archer up, or if they're just going to vault him into a top feud. But I would love to see him and Moxley resolve their issues. Archer should definitely have a bone to pick with him. And Lance, thank you for the $5 Super Chat, which are still open here in the final minutes of the show. If you would like to send one on in, let's go to, I know this area code, 718.
Jason.
What's going on?
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Jason, what's going on? Long time listener.
Thank you. Who am I talking to?
I've been listening since you were on YouTube on Tracks.
Oh yeah. So TV Tracks was I think half my audience probably heard me the first time on TV Tracks.
Yeah, I've been ever since I've been hooked. Loyal fan. I'm sitting here waiting for JD to come on so I can listen to his podcast as well.
Well, you're gonna have, you're probably gonna have a lot of content because with all these shows this week, you're gonna have podcasts from everybody. You're gonna have no time for anything else.
Oh yeah, no. Every night, I listen to you guys always.
Awesome.
You guys are amazing. Actually, you're the only reason. You're actually the first. You and I think Don Tony and Kevin Castle. You were the guys who got me into listening to podcasts. I have never before then listened to podcasts until you guys.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Some people don't realize that when we, I think all of us started doing podcasts, that we're so old now, they weren't even calling them podcasts. They were just audio shows.
Yeah, but I appreciate that because it's like it's opening up a whole new world, and my friends listen to it. I'll be driving in the car and listen and be like, okay, what is this? And I'm like, just shut up and listen. So now you got a couple of fans in Brooklyn now.
Thank you.
But I was calling to say, did you notice that Jerry Lynn is part of the security?
No, I did not. I know he was working, I think, as an agent. Was he on TV tonight as one of the security guards?
Yes. When Pac hit when Pac hit you when they were on the stage and Tony Giovanni was giving an interview, he actually came out and broke them up. Okay. You can go back on the YouTube channel and see. I was kind of shocked that like they didn't. Like, I don't think anyone said that called in said anything about him being there.
Yeah, no, I know he works for the. I know he works for the company, but I just didn't even notice him there tonight. I saw a whole bunch of people try to get Pac off of him. I just didn't notice Jerry Lynn in there.
Yeah. So what I was calling to talk about was, I think you're right. I think Jericho will retain, but I think it's gonna, it's not gonna be clean. I think Brian Cage is gonna, interfere, and basically Moxley's, I guess, his feud after Jericho would be him and Cage. That's the only kind of logical thing.
Yeah, and the only thing stopping me from agreeing with you is, first of all, I'm not sure if Cage ever signed, if there was a deal presented to him if it was signed, but I believe he's hurt. I think he tore his bicep, and if he had surgery, and I think he did have surgery, it couldn't have been more than a month ago, and that's an injury that's probably going to keep him on the shelf for at least a couple more months. So I think it's a little premature, I think, for him to come back yet.
Well, it's not him. Someone's going to come and cost him the match because it doesn't make any sense for Moxley to go against Omega again and them have a – well, then again, this isn't WWE. I have to get out that way of thinking when it comes to AEW that it's totally different. WWE has this condition to think a certain type of way. And with the Dark Order, I don't think it's Matt Hardy. I really think because just – I think we're giving AEW too much credit when it comes to like storylines like this because look at the Nightmare Family and the Nightmare Collective and how the Dark Order and everything has been portrayed so far. I'm kind of leaning towards either Christopher Daniels having like a split personality because I do watch Being the Elite, and then he did wake up with a Dark Order shirt on, and he was like he didn't know what was going on, so I'm hoping that's not the case, that it's not the fallen angel and he's just a split personality. And I'm really hoping that it's not Raven because you really think about it, a lot of their reveals are really underwhelming. So, just being realistic.
Yeah, I'm with you. I said before, I hope it's not Raven. Daniels is obviously, he's going to be involved in this in some way. I mean, they've been teasing it for so long. Split personality, I don't like that idea. I mean, all of a sudden, this guy's been around forever. All of a sudden, he's got a split personality. I mean, I don't know. That's a little far-fetched to me.
If you remember, because when I watched the Brandy Rose, it kind of brought me back to Christopher Daniels. Remember when he was in a feud with not Ray Phoenix, Pentagon? He hit his head when he fell. I hope they don't use that as an excuse, him banging his head, because when they did it with Brandy, it brought me back to Christopher Daniels. Like, oh no, I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I remember that was a nasty. Yeah, that was a nasty bump. I guess if they wanted to explain it that way, I just think the whole point though is that if the end result of this is just Daniels is the exalted one and maybe he's got the split personality and doesn't know what he's doing, it's just underwhelming. I feel like this has been going on for so long. They've been dragging this out now for months. You're at the point where you've got to have a payoff that makes people go, wow, like that's cool, or I didn't see that coming, or you got to have the payoff, and to me that's not a worthwhile payoff.
Yeah, but in this company's history, if you really think about it, the debut of the Super Smash Brothers, the Dark Order, underwhelming. The Nightmare Collective, underwhelming. I don't think if it's not anything with the Elite, that it's not really planned out 100%.
Yeah, that's true.
If it's not Cody or the Elite.
That's true. Although I've heard that Tony Khan has in recent weeks taken more of a hands-on role in terms of the creative, and I like what I've seen on TV these last few weeks. So my hope is that if that's the case, that maybe that won't be the case anymore. We're going to get these underwhelming reveals if he's kind of taking things over and going in a different direction. So we'll see. Look, all of this right now is speculation. Nobody knows for sure. We'll let it play out, and we'll see if maybe we'll get a reveal on Saturday. We'll see.
Yes. One more thing. For me personally, the match I'm really looking forward to, maybe strange, is Pac and Orange Cassidy, because I'm actually a fan of Orange Cassidy, and I know his work. I've been following him for a long period of time. And yes, he's a comedy-like character, but the man can go. When I say he can go, he can really go.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen some of those matches, and I keep telling people who don't get it, they don't understand it, they think he's a waste of a contract and a waste of space on the roster. Which even if I never saw any of those indie matches where clearly he can go, I still say you can't call him a waste of a roster spot because he's over. But people haven't really seen, I think, what he's capable of yet.
And he's different. He's not. He stands out amongst everyone. Yes, everyone does a lot of high flying. Yeah, he's very different. And as soon as he debuted in the Battle Royal, he was over.
Oh yeah, from day one. From day one.
Yeah, over.
Anything else?
I was wondering what matches you are looking forward to.
So I'd say the matches I'm going to let you go. The matches on Saturday that I'm looking forward to the most, if I had to cherry pick one or two, the main event, Moxley and Jericho, is much for what the outcome is going to be than anything else. And I would say, honestly, it's the main event, and it's the Pac and Orange Cassidy match. That's really what I'm looking forward to the most. It's almost like a Minoru Suzuki match. Almost anybody you put Minoru Suzuki in there with, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see him work with different people, different styles. Suzuki can work a match like a brawl with Moxley or a comedy match with somebody. It kind of has that appeal for me. Those are the two matches I'm looking forward to the most. Jericho and Moxley and Pac and Orange Cassidy. Let's take a couple more here before we wrap up, as we have now passed midnight. So technically, I'll be doing another stream later today. Let's go to 5:02. You're on the air.
What's up, Mr. Monster?
What's going on, my friend?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Apparently, I don't know how a phone works anymore. So I was the 502 from earlier, so I called back.
Ah, good. Well, it sounded like you were racing to the phone, and then you probably dropped the phone and disconnected.
I accidentally hung up on you.
Wow,
but I did. I was like wrestling with the phone.
All right. Well, you're on now. That's all that matters.
So I have this thing, like, I keep watching their little YouTube special, the Being the Elite, and they got some like really good stuff on there. I mean, I understand not everything, but like I'd like to see, some of that stuff kind of shine through to the main show. I mean, the personalities, they have a lot of really good personalities on that show, and they just don't really get that shine. I love the wrestling. The wrestling is top notch, but I'm ready to see some more of the, like Paige has a really good personality. Like some of these guys, they got really good personalities that just, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think they're doing a better job now, I think, of having these little vignettes that they insert into the TV show. If you remember when the show first started, it was just match, match, match. Now they're at least, giving us some more of those types of segments. Being the Elite is I haven't seen it in a few weeks, but very well done. And really it's what has helped, I think, get them on the map and got the TV deal. And Being the Elite, I don't think you can discount the importance in where AEW is now. You can trace it back to the success of that show. And it's very well put together, and from what I've seen of it, it's very entertaining. And they do try to fill in the gaps in terms of storylines on TV and some of that character development, the stuff with Hangman. Yeah, Hangman mentioned tonight in the interview on TV. He says, I tried to leave the Elite, you guys wouldn't let me. If you remember, I mean, that's a story that started on Being the Elite, where he just said, look, I need to leave, I need to do my own thing. And so they start some of these stories on there, and then it bleeds over into the TV show. So, no, I mean, I think they've done a tremendous job with it. I don't know how much longer it's going to go on for. I'm sure it's a lot of work for them to put together, because they, the Bucks and them, they edit it all on their own. But, it almost reminds me of the success that Zack Ryder had, with his Z True Long Island Story show. That thing, he did that all by himself. He came up with the concepts for it. He'd be climbing over the fence and he's struggling and he's like, bro, I can't get over. Or like little silly, stupid shit like that. And he would write it and he would edit it, and it looked amateurish, but he was doing it all on his own. But it got him over. I mean, it got him over on television. The only reason he ever got on TV and got a U.S. title run was because of that stupid YouTube show. And then what happened? WWE saw that he was having success with it and said, well, we're going to take it over. We want this on our channel. And that was it. That was the beginning of the end. They took control of it. He didn't have control over his own show anymore. And they killed it. That's what they did. But it was this grassroots thing that he started on his own. So, we're seeing it again with the Bucks. It's been very successful for them.
Yeah, I think the fact that you made that comparison is perfect, because that's kind of what AEW did. They kind of, they started the Being the Elite channel, and it was like the Bucks, and you had Kenny Omega, and then you had Dustin, and then you had Hangman, and then Marty Scurll, and they kept bringing more and more people in, and then, they started, they had their Double or Nothing pay-per-view, so it's like, really kind of had this synergy, it seemed like, and it, like now I watch Being the Elite just as much. I mean, I make sure I watch it every week, like it's, AEW Dark or something,
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, we'll see how long they can keep it going for. Anything else before I let you go?
Yeah, I just, my prediction real quick on the Moxley thing, or the Moxley match. Maybe it's my WWE programming, but I feel like because Moxley's been winning and winning and winning, like, I'm so scared he's going to lose, like the big one, Because if he does lose the big one, like 2 weeks later, he'll still be like what? Like he'll have one loss for the whole year.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, and Cody's a similar thing. Cody's been of late, just to get the match, he's been winning and winning and winning. And I think with that, MJF wins just to kind of drag things out a little bit longer before you give Cody the big payoff. So maybe it's a similar thing with Moxley. He's been winning and winning and winning all of his matches. Does he just keep winning, or does he lose at some point? And if he does lose, again, I can't see him losing clean the way Omega did to Jericho. If you remember their first match, Jericho gave him the Judas effect and pinned him. I can't imagine that they do that with him and Moxley. I think that would be a huge mistake.
Yeah. But it kind of adds to the whole like unpredictability of AEW.
Sure,
you know?
no,
Like, that's
that's
one thing they really got over WWE is the unpredictability.
Yeah, no, I it's hard to say those last three matches. You cannot say for sure because it could go either way. And it really just depends on how much longer they want to drag some of these feuds out for, or do you blow it off at the pay-per-view? Because they only have 4 of these each year. So, do you want to just keep doing the same matches, or do you want to end them here? Let's climax these stories and just move on to the next one. We'll see. You can't be sure, and that's the unpredictability I like about
it. Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Hey, we still don't claim Jim Cornette around here, so it's all good.
It's good to know. All right, take it easy. Let's do 2 more, and then I will run out of here. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody. All the lines are jammed up, but let's go to 914. I know he's been waiting for a while. 914, you're on the air.
Hello, Solomon.
Sound like you're trapped. You sound like you're trapped in a cave, like those people on The Walking Dead this week. Where are you?
Oh shit, man! I'm freaking Albuquerque, and that's a good comparison right there.
There you go. Well, you sound a lot better now. That's better.
I appreciate it. I was on speakerphone. Well, I actually had my Bluetooth on, and I appreciate you taking my call, and you do outstanding work, and everyone smash that like button and subscribe. So I want to say that AEW is confusing. Brandy and having a toy coming out in the first line is kind of absurd. The Iron Man match with the Young Bucks on the outside and whatnot is kind of like, it almost made it like lumberjackish. And, plus most of the matches in AEW are just, they're usually pretty long, 15 or, going past 20 minutes sometimes. And so the Iron Man match was kind of diminished in that aspect. And, that's pretty much it. As far as Moxley goes, being that he's so over, there's going to be like some turn of event, I believe, and which he's not going to lose anything. Like they're actually going to pull a good angle and keep Moxley strong, and while keeping Jericho strong. There's going to be something that kind of happens, and I know this is WWE talk right here, but Super Showdown, Undertaker is going to declare his match, and just want to kind of hear your thoughts on that. I'll take the answers off the line. Sorry for the blitz.
No problem. I think I know what you've been doing while you were waiting on the phone, but it's all good. Now, as far as the Undertaker at Super Showdown, because he's there, they decided to spoil it. They've already acknowledged that he's in Saudi Arabia, and so what is he going to do? It's one of two things. It can only be one of two things. He's either getting involved in some way, or maybe after, with the whole Goldberg Fiend thing. And that's going to set something up for him for WrestleMania. Or, if Meltzer's original report is to be believed, and I'm leaning towards this because AJ Styles cut that promo on TV last week and was talking about how Gallows and Anderson were telling him, you're the new Mr. WrestleMania. It ain't Shawn Michaels coming out of retirement to wrestle him. He name-dropped The Undertaker, and he name-dropped Shawn and all these people in his promo. It sounds like he's going to be doing something with AJ Styles. And I'm going to mention this when I do the podcast on Sunday, but somebody wrote into me yesterday proposing a different idea for him. They said, well, what do you think about this at WrestleMania? If he's going to work with AJ, instead of doing a singles match, because he can't do singles matches anymore. It's just he's not the same worker he was even just a few years ago. He's old, he's broken down, he's an entrance. Spectacular entrance. If you've never seen a live Undertaker entrance in a WrestleMania, then you really are missing out. I'm missing WrestleMania this year for the first time in whatever it's been, 8 or 9 years. But I had 6 or 7 different WrestleMania shows where I got to see The Undertaker make his entrance in this giant stadium, and they have the fake lightning and thunder and the smoke and the pyro and everything, and it's great. When the bell rings, it isn't always so great. But as an entrance, it gives you goosebumps. There's still nothing like it. But he hasn't really had that one truly memorable singles match in quite a while. The match with Goldberg and Saudi was a disaster. You can attribute that to Goldberg getting concussed, but I'm not convinced that even if he didn't get hurt, that match wasn't going to be a disaster anyway. But he had that match at Extreme Rules last year. Remember the Graveyard Dogs? Woof woof. The Undertaker and Roman Reigns against Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon. Undertaker looked pretty damn good in that match, but it was a tag team match. So he didn't have to work the entire match. So this person's idea was, what if, we saw Aleister Black got attacked by AJ and the OC on Monday. He's wrestling AJ on TV this Monday. What if this somehow morphs into a handicap match at WrestleMania where it's Aleister Black teaming with The Undertaker to take on AJ, Gallows, and Anderson? So that way, if you want to see some interaction in the ring with AJ and Undertaker, you get that. It gives Aleister Black a feature match at WrestleMania, because what the fuck is he going to do? If he's not involved in this, what does he do? You going to put him in the ring with Murphy again? He doesn't have any obvious match for WrestleMania. He should be on the card and not in some meaningless battle royal. But more importantly, it gets The Undertaker in a match where he doesn't have to work the entire match. He can be on the apron for half of it, waiting for that hot tag. I'm not a big fan of handicap matches, but it's not the worst idea in the world. So I think whatever Undertaker is doing at WrestleMania probably involves AJ Styles. But we won't have to wait much longer to find out if he's going to be on the show. He'll be on the show tomorrow. And we'll get a better sense of what he's going to be doing at WrestleMania. Let me go to 631.
Hello?
631, you're on the air.
Hey, how's it going, Solomonster?
It's going well. Who am I talking to?
My name's Christian.
Hey, Christian.
From Long Island.
Another Long Islander. We've had a few Long Islanders on the show tonight.
Yeah. No, it's a kind of pleasure to be on your show. I haven't been listening that long, but I've always known who you are and listened here and there. But I just started really listening to you the night after. Well, not the night after. The night of the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view with The Fiend and Seth Rollins, because I had no one to watch, no one to listen to, and I needed to fucking hear somebody talk, or I was gonna blow an aneurysm. But
well, that was quite the that was quite the stream to listen to.
Yeah, I needed somebody to speak to me, because I don't want to remember that night. But anyway, I got 2 questions for you about AEW and kind of what's going to go on tomorrow at Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
For the AEW question, with the Lance Archer coming in, which was just announced today. Where do you think this guy's going? Like in terms of, I don't know how they're gonna book him yet, obviously, but where do you think this guy's going? You think this guy's gonna be a mid-card act, or he's gonna be put in the heavyweight division? Say if Moxley wins the title, they redo they kind of do a look back at what he did in New Japan with Moxley, with the death matches and all that.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a mid-card act. I mean, if you're going to make a big deal about his signing, and he's a big dude, and again, he's not that young, so if you're going to do something with him, you're not going to wait a year. You're going to do it now. I think he's going to be an upper-card guy. I'm not going to say he's going to win their title, but I think he's going to be one of the top acts on the show, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I mean, I could see some interesting matches, and there's a lot of fun matches for him over there, because he's one of the more agile big men you can use. So, I'm kind of excited to see him too. But second question about Saudi Arabia is, I know you're just talking about it, but Aleister Black, since he's not really doing much at WrestleMania, and I really don't know what's going to go on with Andrade at WrestleMania, I was thinking maybe do a look back at their NXT feud for the United States Championship for Aleister, so he has at least something to do for his big singles match, maybe against Andrade, or maybe you can throw maybe it could be a multi-man. Maybe you could throw like Angel Garza or Humberto in there or whatever. But something for him to do, I guess, maybe for the United States Championship with Andrade.
Could be. Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I'm guessing that Andrade is more likely to be involved with whether it's a four-way
Mysterio?
or yeah, probably Mysterio and Humberto and Angel Garza, maybe like a four-way ladder match or something. I don't see him being involved with Alistair.
Yeah. Well, see, my thing is, I just want to see Alistair in a big thing. I don't want him in some like. I'll be okay if he's in a tag match, but I don't want it to be some like bullshit. But that's just me.
Right,
and you were talking about the Undertaker earlier, and I don't know if anyone said this to you yet, but I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Disrespect.
I am not.
But well, he's a Twitch streamer. He like plays his character on his Twitch stream or whatever. But Undertaker just not called in, but like he made an appearance like in a sound. He was talking to him on his stream like 30 minutes ago, and Dr. Disrespect has been advertised by WWE for something of late, like he's looking for somebody. So I don't know what that means, but he was on his stream.
Well, hold on a second. So you're saying that not like a joke or a parody or anything, the Undertaker actually called into this guy's Twitch stream?
Yeah, like he stands in the fake arena green screen, and then Undertaker's like symbol of the T and the X came on the screen, and yeah, because that WWE show, The Bump, Dr. Disrespect made a cameo. He said he's looking for somebody, and 30 minutes ago, Undertaker just spoke to him on his stream.
I gotta hear this.
And it was him too.
I'm very skeptical.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it, but I'm very skeptical that the Undertaker would call into any. I mean, but then again, Randy Orton was playing some kid on Twitch months ago, so who knows? But I find that hilarious, though, that if it's true that the Undertaker, who's over in Saudi Arabia right now, so that means that he would be having to do this from Saudi Arabia, I guess from his hotel room, would be talking to somebody on Twitch.
Well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't live. I'm pretty sure this was pre-recorded. But
okay.
It sounded pre-recorded, but it didn't sound like a call-in. But it was like I don't know. It sounded like him. I'm pretty because WWE's been advertising Dr. Disrespect. So
okay.
I think this is what they're gonna do.
I've never heard of this Dr. Disrespect. I'm gonna have to look into this because I've never even heard of this guy before.
Yeah, he's not like a hero. He's like a gimmick. He plays a character on a stream, so he's kind of perfect for wrestling.
Okay.
But yeah.
Interesting.
I'll tag you in it in the video.
Yeah,
Twitter,
I definitely want to check.
It.
I definitely want to. If you have a link to that, I will definitely have to check that out.
Yeah. All right, but thanks for taking my call. It's been a pleasure. I hope I can call in a lot more in the future.
Yeah, by all means. I'm live every week, so by all means, call back. That's probably a good. Hey, you know what? Let me take one more here. This person got so many. I wish I can get to everybody. This person's been waiting a long time. I think this might be another Long Island person. He's been on the line for over 90 minutes. 516, you're on the air.
Hey, Solomonster. It's Steve from Long Island. How you doing?
Hey, Steve. Been waiting a long time. I'm sorry it took this long, but I'm glad I got you on.
Yeah, I mean, you can listen on the thing, so it's not that bad. Anyway, I wanted to ask about the tag team match with Omega and Hangman.
Sure.
I don't see how. I mean, based on that interview they did today, I don't see how they can make Hangman go heel in this. I mean, that whole the Bucks just don't really come off as that likable of guys, and Hangman's so over right now. I can't see them getting the crowd to go against Hangman.
Maybe not. I think where there's a will, there's a way. All it takes is him, doing something really, dastardly to Kenny Omega. People like Kenny, and yeah, you're right. I think the Bucks have a certain in this storyline. They come off a little prickish, and so I don't think it's a matter of him doing anything to the Bucks as much as if he does something to Kenny. So if he does something to Omega, that I think could get people to boo him, and then he's got to probably stop the whole drinking thing because people are cheering for it. So he'd have to sober up and stop doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's the question. Do you turn him, or do you see how popular he is and say, wait a minute, let's not go down that road just yet. There could be something here. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, they've been teasing the heel thing for a while now, but that doesn't mean you have to pull the trigger on it.
Yeah, I mean, so the way I'm seeing it is, they can make Hangman do something dastardly and probably get him booed, but I think he looks justified in all this. The way he's being, he seems like he's being undermined. He had that line on the show today in the interview. He was saying that this is the biggest achievement of my career, and you're trying to take it from me. And that kind of resonates with me. That I can't see that guy.
That was a good. Yeah,
booed.
You know what?
He seems like.
Yeah, that was a good. I wish I would have mentioned that earlier. That was one of the things that I really liked about that interview, was the idea that his biggest issue here is the fact that he's the tag team champion now. And so this is clearly a big deal to him that he's one half of the tag team champions. And these two guys, these two little pricks who come on TV and say, oh, I'm your best friend. We're all best friends. They want to take away from him this championship that means so much to him. So I thought that was a great line. I thought that was actually a great little, not twist, but like a little addition to the story. And then he stormed off after that. That was a good piece of character development right there. I like that line a lot.
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole storyline, it feels like it might be going in the way of how when WWE tried to turn Becky Lynch and she just got way more over because she was completely justified in snap. She wasn't turned and snapped, but everyone in the audience thought, oh, she's justified in that. She should have snapped on Charlotte there. So I think it might be a kind of similar situation where, yeah, maybe he does something dastardly, but I don't know. I feel like Kenny and the Bucks kind of have it coming.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Absolutely. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Awesome.
Have a great night. Long-time listener, first caller tonight, but
appreciate it.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. You too, my friend. So we're going to wrap it up there. We've gone later than I had intended to, but that's all good. It's all good when we can get in more calls. I like hearing from everybody. So let's, real quick here, the polls one last time. AEW, almost 2,000 votes. Hugely positive score. NXT, also positive, not as positive. Still not 1,000 votes. Look at this. And this is really, this is so telling to me every single week. We're almost at 2,000 votes already for the AEW poll. We haven't even cracked 1,000 yet on the NXT poll. And this has been the consistent thing every single week. We'll see what the ratings are. I'm very curious now what the ratings are tomorrow. I don't think AEW is going to crack it. If they didn't crack 1 million for that show last week, I can't imagine that they come close to it this week. But we'll see. Stranger things have happened. All right, guys, listen. I'm going to be back with you in a little over 12 hours. I'm going to be going live on YouTube around 3:30ish in the afternoon Eastern Time once Super Saudi Showdown goes off the air. I'm going to be going live on YouTube for my full recap. So if Goldberg is the new Universal Champion, or if The Fiend wins, if The Undertaker shows up, we're going to talk about all of that stuff. The Tuwake Trophy. Another meaningless, stupid trophy is on the line. Miz and Morrison against the New Day, which actually could be a pretty good match. There'll be full recap of all the events tomorrow. And then I will be back again live here on YouTube Saturday night when AEW Revolution goes off the air. Join me for the full recap, phone calls, all that good stuff. And then episode 641 of the Sound Off is going to hit all the usual platforms that you saw. Well, let me put this back on screen here. You can see all the platforms here on your screen right now. Actually, no, you can't. That's the phone number. Let me get the slide back. There we go. Hold on a second. God damn it. Here we go. There we go. Pandora, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart. You know the drill. 641 will be going up on Sunday. Matthew, I did not miss you. $2 super chat earlier. Thank you. Turtlehead2, thank you for the super chat as well. And Brian dropped a $2.99 super chat. I think that's everybody who donated. I appreciate the hell out of you guys for it. Hopefully we'll have a little super chat party going on tomorrow after the Saudi show as well. Get some of that sweet Saudi money. Get some sweet super chat money. Let's get some of that going tomorrow. I don't take none of that blood money. I'll take these super chats, even though YouTube takes 70% of it. But YouTube, I think maybe more at this point. It used to be 70. Maybe they take 80% of it now. That's why I tell people PayPal is still the way to go. But every little bit helps. So have yourselves a great night. Thank you, as always, for the support. And I'm going to see you back here again in just a few hours for some sweet Saudi money. Until then, have yourselves a great night, guys. Take care.